My fusion system. Fusing 1,000 chickens at the start. Chapters 450 to 454. Chapter 450. The Golden Flash and Charcoal's Human Forms. Did you hear? Watson discovered some ancient ruins near the border, where he discovered a world tree, dragons, and phoenix eggs. I heard about it a long time ago, but it is a hoax, right? I heard that Watson did not find the world tree at the border but in the forest of eternity and brought it home. What you are saying is incorrect. Watson went to the forest of eternity and carried the forest back to the border, transforming it into the world tree. The Elven Kingdom has become a desolate wasteland. Not long after Watson left the Royal Academy, rumors began to circulate. The students gathered for a discussion, their faces lit up with excitement. For them, what happened in the Dragon Knight recruitment process was reason enough to applaud the young man for a long time. People questioned whether the kingdom's strongest genius was only average after Watson was found to be incompatible with any of the dragons. However, Watson then used his actions to prove that the kingdom's strongest genius would always be the kingdom's strongest genius. He had platinum-tier magical beast meat, phoenix eggs, and even water from the Spring of Life. Those legendary foods were only available in Watson's home. That prompted everyone to wonder about Watson's background and how he could possess so many magical things simultaneously. Since the rumors were becoming increasingly ridiculous as they spread, it prompted many people to travel to Watson's hometown, the border, to take a look. I have to go to the border to take a look when the Royal Academy lets us off for a vacation. I have never been to the border in my life. Perhaps I can be like the chosen one, Watson, and find some ancient ruins there and collect a plethora of treasures. Most of them had made their decision. Watson said that he had discovered those treasures in the ancient ruins. They were skeptical about that. After all, what Watson said was flawed. However, if he did not find those items in ancient ruins, how did Watson get them? It would be even more ridiculous if Watson claimed to have created those things himself. At the palace, King Landhar III was sitting cross-legged on the bed in his bedroom as he spoke to the two men in front of him, Lubin and Geraint. Are you sure you are not lying? Are those items really that common at the border? There is no need for us to lie, Your Majesty. The thing with the world tree, that was just us bragging. Don't take it too seriously. He treated the platinum and diamond tier items as normal because he had been in Mount Creation for a long time. He had almost forgotten how valuable those items were in the outside world. If he took them out hastily, it would cause quite a stir. Is that right? Let's not talk about those things, King Landhar III said, smiling. You should visit your family in the royal city. I shouldn't keep you here any longer. I have one more question. How many people like you are at the border who have consumed potions made from the Spring of Life and advanced to platinum-tier angels? Well, Lubin paused for a moment before turning to face Geraint. They realized that Watson did not want them to leak Mount Creation's power. It was also impossible to give an ambiguous response in front of the king, so he paused for a moment before saying, not many. Only the people on Mount Creation are angels. Angels on the mountains range. I understand. You may go. So, Lubin and Geraint left as King Landhar III nodded and waved his hand at them. Mount Creation was equivalent to the border. The people on the outside had no idea that Mount Creation was the border. Obviously, they would not consider it. Lubin played with his words. Typically, they had tens of thousands of angels on the mountain. King Landhar III would not have guessed that the millions of people gathered on the border were all angels. Watson, every time I think I have figured you out, you surprise me. No one knows how large that mountain range is. Fortunately, I had planned to take advantage of Watson's departure to set up some arrangements. King Landhar III narrowed his pitch-black eyes. I need to speed up the plans now that I have seen Watson's strength. What do you think, Seedy? A pitch-black shadow suddenly moved on the wall behind him, and then the shadow appeared on the wall, transforming into a woman. Is my opinion important? That's not in my line of work. But I must remind you that making a move against Watson is not easy. He is better than I thought at using. Seedy licked her lips and flickered her eyes as she spoke. What I didn't expect was that the potion he gave Augustus today was from the god of poison. That was my authority. I had no idea how Watson stole it. I had intended to assist him with the potion-making process. Now it appears that I will be unable to assist him in any way. That poison, however, is a trade item with the Dragon Clan. Is it really a good idea to let the dragon clan eat it? They will not let you go once they discover it is harmful to the dragon clan. It makes no difference to me. Seedy, you should visit the Campbells later. Meet with Lubin while you look in on Augustus. It is best if you can help Augustus get rid of the poison in his body. After all, he is a tremendous talent for the kingdom. I can't stand seeing him tortured like that. You had the opportunity to save him, but you chose not to. Now, you want to play the good guy while defrauding others. Don't you think your actions are very bad, King Landhar III? Of course, you can ask me to do that, but I should get something for my trouble, Seedy said, crossing her arms behind her head. What kind of reward are you looking for? Resources I got from Watson? I can give you 10 phoenix eggs and 10 caddies of platinum tier magical beast meat as long as you heal Augustus. As well as a bottle of water from the spring of life. I agree. Seedy turned into a shadow and left the room after reaching an agreement with King Landhar III. Seedy appears to have adapted to the human environment, as I had predicted. However, it appears that she has already taken Watson's side. Will it be difficult for her to snatch that thing from Watson, or has she reached an agreement with him? In any case, it is not good for me. I will not be able to persuade her to do much in the future. Initially, he had a lot of things to do after Watson left. It would be very convenient if Seedy were not there. However, he had to deal with them one by one. Summon Samuel from the Sword Saint family. Soon, Samuel arrived at the king's bedroom and knelt respectfully on one knee. Your Majesty, how may I be of service? I have not spoken with you in a long time. Are you well? The king asked. I am well, Your Majesty. The god's remains that you bestowed upon me have blended perfectly with my body. Really? Please show me, Your Majesty, what's going on? Do you not believe what I said? Samuel asked. I told you to show it to me. King Landhar III was very audible. His voice, tinged with rage, reverberated throughout the room like rolling thunder. As you wish, Your Majesty. Despite his reluctance, Samuel extended his right hand. On the tip of his right hand, a ball of black, viscous liquid appeared. Black lines in the shape of a spider web squirmed between his fingers, a silk line falling to the ground and eroding a hole in the ground. So, you still have the god's remains I gave you. I saw Watson use the same ability, and I was worried that he had extracted the energy from your body. King Landhar III rose and approached Samuel. He extended his hand and patted Samuel on the shoulder. You must be joking, Your Majesty. How could I bear giving away the gift that you gave me? Watson's ability may be similar to mine. Perhaps you have seen it wrongly? That was not impossible. By the way, do you feel any discomfort? No. Didn't you say that there would be no side effects if I have good talent while bearing God's remains in my body? I am not bragging, but I believe I am talented. Let's not get into that right now. I asked you to keep an eye on Watson's movement. I am curious what Watson has been up to these days. Your Majesty, Watson, he said. Samuel only told the king a few insignificant things. King Landhar III listened patiently and did not show any signs of annoyance. Instead, he looked pleased. That's not bad. Keep up the good work. I will give you a phoenix egg for your performance. That is a legendary item. Have you heard of it? What is a phoenix egg? An egg laid by a legendary phoenix? For a brief moment, Samuel was taken aback. Then, he reacted. His eyes became warm, and his breathing became labored. King Landhar III saw nothing out of the ordinary after carefully observing Samuel. Yes, it is exactly as you think, he said after a brief moment of thought. Since you didn't provide me with any vital information, I can only give you a phoenix egg. You can come to me at any time if you have more information later. You want more rewards? It is not impossible, based on the value of your information. You can rest assured, Your Majesty. I will work hard and report on everything Watson does. He chatted with King Landhar III for a while before leaving the palace. Report everything without leaving anything out? It would be a miracle if he could pull it off. After Samuel left, King Landhar III threw the documents on the table closest to him to the ground and smiled. It seemed like Seedy and Samuel, those two pawns, had been removed. Watson, I am afraid it would have been difficult for me to discover it if you hadn't left the capital at this time. No matter how gifted Samuel was, the god's remains that Seedy had given him would disintegrate in 2 to 3 days. He was there to find the antidote. However, it had been several days since Samuel had taken the god's remains. Samuel was strong-willed, and he could still hold on. Who would have thought Samuel was in such good health? Samuel said that there would be no negative consequences as long as his talent remained good. King Landhar III was sure that the god's remains had been removed from Samuel's body as soon as Samuel said that. Watson, who had revealed the same power, was the only one who could do it. Since the power in Samuel's body has been removed, how is he still able to use it? Was it because of the thing in Watson's body? Furthermore, do Antonio and Reed know about Samuel being under my control? I hope they'll choose wisely. After all, I don't want to lose two experts who are capable of defending the kingdom. King Landhar III sighed. Despite his calm demeanor, he exuded confidence. He seemed to think that as long as he was willing, he could kill Reed and Antonio at any time. Watson had shown me the severed fingers gang. I had mistakenly assumed that was Watson's full strength. Now it appears that I am a little too naive. Watson did not appear to have come to the capital to become stronger. He had set his sights on my throne. Since you have such a strong desire, I will meet it. It was unknown what he was thinking, but King Landhar III smiled smugly and called out again. Men, summon my sons. The time it took to summon the three princes was short. The princes entered the bedroom dressed formally. They stood neatly in sequential order. The first prince smiled and bowed to King Landhar III. Congratulations, father. I heard that you had signed a contract with the Dragon Clan to expand the Dragon Knight Legion and also received a large gift from Watson's hometown. Oh, I have not told you about it yet, but you are aware. I am curious where you heard that. There is no need for anyone to tell me that, father. Those items are now here in the capital. I doubt there are any people in the capital who are unaware of this. The second prince was the one who spoke first. Ah, I see. King Landhar III nodded. What are your thoughts on the subject? Of course, it is a compliment. Father, you are extremely wise, and Watson truly is a genius. Watson's gifts to the royal family now include phoenix eggs and water from the spring of life. They can also help to strengthen the kingdom. In a few years, the kingdom will be able to conquer other kingdoms, the first prince said. The second prince said, not wanting to be outdone, the main points should be the potions made with the spring of life, as well as the ruins Watson mentioned to find those things. Watson claimed that the ruins had collapsed and could not be found, but I believe he is lying. We can still find the ruins as long as we deploy the kingdom's army to search for them. If there are still treasures that have not yet been collected, we will be wealthy if we find them. What do you think, third brother? Father, I believe that eldest brother and second brother's opinions are right. However, I have a feeling that this is not in the best interests of the kingdom. Instead, it is extremely hazardous. Nobody knows whether Watson's claim about the ruin is true or not. Perhaps it is as Watson had said. The power displayed by Watson is even more terrifying. He does, in fact, have angels as subordinates. When confronted with King Landhar III's question, the chubby third prince pinched his fleshy chin. A worried expression appeared on his face as he said, since Watson has a potion that can create an angel, who knows how many angels he has under him? It is not necessary to have a large number of soldiers. A few thousand would be sufficient to destroy the entire Holy Dragon Kingdom. With such power, dominating the kingdom was only a matter of time for Watson as long as he wanted to do that. You are correct, only my third son appears to be useful. The amiable expression on King Landhar III's face faded and turned cold as he nodded. I am not sure how you are my sons. You do not have any of my skills. Take a look at Watson. He is only 12 or 13 years old, but he is already capable of assisting me in negotiating a contract with the dragon race. He can even bring me phoenix eggs and other valuables from his hometown. He also has a potion that can be used to create angels. He can assist me in forming an angel army and dominating the world. What can you do? With awkward expressions, the three princes looked at each other. They were powerless to intervene. As princes, the elite education they received as children enabled them to compete with some geniuses. They thought they were powerful, but they were nothing in comparison to Watson. They considered themselves to be geniuses, but geniuses could not be compared to monsters. Given your behavior, I am concerned about entrusting the Holy Dragon Kingdom to you. I would rather hand it to Watson. Even though Watson is not my child, He has the potential to help the Holy Dragon Kingdom grow even more magnificently. He will also marry Kiana soon. Even if he becomes the king, the bloodline of the Holy Dragon Kingdom will remain the same. King Landhar III spoke slowly. His words made the three princes pale and broke out in cold sweat. The first prince's lips moved as if he wanted to say something, but he could not. We are blood relatives. It is extremely difficult for me to make such a decision directly. What do you think? I will give you another chance. Within a week, you must give me a treasure that is not weaker than the spring of life, the angel formula, or the phoenix egg. If you can do it, I will not name Watson as the next king right away. Don't be a prince if you can't do it. You can live in a farming village. Father, you are right. We understand. King Landhar III waved his hand, and the three princes respectfully exited the bedroom. They heard the sound of the door closing behind them as they walked out of the room. The three princes sighed with relief. Watson, why are you such a genius? No matter what we do now, Father will still be dissatisfied with this and even want to pass the throne to Watson. What right does he have to inherit the throne? He's an outsider, the second prince said as he clenched his fists. The first prince cast a glance at him. Second brother, are you dissatisfied with Father's arrangements? Father is strict with this because of Watson's outstanding performance. He values our performance, which is a good thing. In your opinion, how did it become Father's fault? We were not disqualified from the competition because of Father. It is already very thoughtful of him to only allow us to look for special treasures. Eldest brother is correct. The second prince agreed with a fake smile, but in his heart, he cursed the first prince for being a hypocrite. He was clearly irritated by his father's actions, but he pretended to be calm. He was completely shameless. Okay, let's stop arguing. The most important thing right now is to find a treasure that can compete with the spring of life. The third prince stepped forward. His words caused the other two princes to become concerned. It is simple to say. The Elven Kingdom's national treasure is the spring of life. How does one obtain a treasure resembling the spring of life? We have 1 week. Even if one went to the Elven Kingdom and requested the same spring of life, there would be insufficient time. If only we knew where Watson obtained those items. Isn't it rumored that he has a world tree at home? He will not have to worry about water from the spring of life if he has a world tree. Wait, there's the world tree. The second prince sighed. Halfway through his words, he suddenly kept quiet. If anything in the world was more precious than water from the spring of life, it must be the world tree. It seemed like it was necessary to go to Watson's home. Even if he could not get the world tree, he could obtain some other things from the border. After all, the local specialty that Watson had sent was so precious. Those things must be abundant there. It was not just the second prince. The other two princes had clearly thought of that as well. They were thinking about how they could obtain benefits from Watson. The three princes looked at each other and left the place. They did not see King Landhar III walking out of the room wearing a long robe after they left. He looked at his sons from afar and smiled. Watson, this time, I don't have to do anything. My son will take the initiative to dig out the resources and power behind you. Next time, you will get a headache because of my 3 sons until I complete my plan. However, sending only my sons is not enough. I need to send 2 messengers who often go to the border. The murmurs of King Landhar III dissipated in the air, adding a hint of coolness to the already hot weather. Sneeze, sneeze. Watson sat on Fafnir's back and sneezed twice in a row. It had been a few hours since he left the royal city. During those few hours, he had been on Fafnir's back as they rushed to the dragon lair. The closer he was to the dragon lair, the higher the temperature. He could feel the surrounding temperature rising quickly. Many of the geniuses traveling with him were forced to take off their coats because of the scorching temperature. They were drenched in sweat. Watson, the weather is so hot. Do you have a cold? While Fafnir was flying, the huge red dragon turned its head around. 3 eyes of different colors stared at Watson, flickering with doubt. Lady Fafnir, thank you for your concern. I don't have a cold. Someone must be thinking about me, Watson replied with a smile. As for who was thinking about him, he knew that it was definitely King Landhar III. Lubin and Geraint came to deliver gifts. It's good that they came here secretly. Why did they have to choose to come now? I can't even explain where those things came from. Those 2 were talking about looking at me. Don't tell me that they want to bring those precious things to their family to show off. Watson thought about it. Geraint and Lubin were from the Ptolemy and Campbell families. Compared to the geniuses of their family, they were not valued much. That was why they were sent to the border. When they returned to the family, they would be arranged to have titles and official positions. However, it was different at that moment. Geraint and Lubin had returned as platinum-tier angels. Together with the large number of treasures they brought back, they could become the brightest elites in the family. Everyone would have to treat them with respect. It was understandable that Geraint and Lubin were showing off their wealth to their family and friends. However, because of the two of them, Watson would have more trouble in the kingdom in the future. Forget it. There will always be a way out. It's useless to think about what has already happened. Putting his worries to the back of his mind, he stroked the two dragons on his shoulders and looked straight ahead at the mountains that began to appear. There was a ring-shaped volcano-like mountain that was thousands of meters high, spanning tens of miles. The clouds and mist on the mountaintop surrounded the faint roar of dragons from within. It was the largest dragon habitat near the royal city, and it was also the place under the control of Fafnir, the dragon's lair. Dragons were rare creatures in the world, and it was uncommon to see one. Dragons lived about 10,000 meters in the sky or at some deepest parts of the ocean difficult for humans to reach. So, it was difficult to see them. At that time, Watson had a very important purpose for going to the dragon's lair. Obtaining the dragons was secondary, but the important thing was that he had to transform the two dragons on his shoulders, the Golden Flash and Charcoal, into human form. He had that idea after seeing Fafnir in human form. If his dragons could transform into human forms, Charcoal and the Golden Flash could communicate with him and do things that their dragon forms could not do. That was the reason why he would rather risk exposing the dragons in front of King Landhar III. Of course, it was also why he was unhappy with Julius. At that moment, while Watson was thinking, Fafnir and the other dragons had already approached the dragon lair above the ring-shaped mountain range. It was thousands of meters high in the sky, but there was no trace of coldness in the ring-shaped mountain range. Instead, the hot temperature distorted the air under the ring-shaped mountain range. Dragons of different colors were poking their heads out from the rocky cliffs on both sides of the mountain range. At the bottom of the mountain range was a river made of pure magma. A large part of the scorching temperature in the mountain range was due to that. A few adult dragons were soaking in the lava as if they were bathing. Most of the dragons in the lair had fire elements. They had scales that leaned toward red or gold, and their horns were towering. "Everyone, this is where we live. Welcome to the place where I reign." After approaching the dragon lair, Fafnir placed Watson on the mountain range and transformed into a human. Similarly, Olenna, Rem, and the Dragon Knights landed on the mountain range with hundreds of students. Many of them looked shocked. As the Dragon Knights had the experience of selecting dragons before, it was not their first time there, so they were much calmer. "Lady Fafnir, we've waited for you for a long time. Finally, you've arrived. The dragons in the nest are impatient. Are these the people you've selected to become Dragon Knights?" At that moment, an old voice echoed. An old dragon with the appearance of an old man flew out of the nest. The old man's clothes were very strange. He was wearing a loose, sleeveless robe. That was because his body, including his head, was human. On the contrary, he did not have arms. Instead, he had two dragon heads with long necks. One was blue, and the other was red. They looked very strange. "Long-armed dragon, go and inform the other dragons. Tell them that they have worked hard. I will now complete the Dragon Knight recruitment ceremony with the recruits that are compatible with them." The old man named Long-Armed Dragon immediately nodded, turned around, and flew to the bottom of the lair. The two dragon heads on his shoulders roared. In a short while, thousands of dragons flew out of the lair. Flying in the sky, they looked down at the people with a scrutinizing gaze. Thousands of dragons fly at the same time. This is the first time I've seen such a shocking scene. Some people could not help but sigh when they saw so many dragons for the first time. Some people were looking for the dragon they saw in the dragon totem previously. "I've found it. The dragon that matches with me is much stronger than the phantom that I saw in the dragon totem." Many students were excited. At that moment, Fafnir opened her mouth and said, "Don't be happy yet. The previous test only showed that the power in your body matches a dragon, but it doesn't mean that you can form a connection with them. Other than the power that matched, There's also another critical point in becoming a Dragon Knight. You have to like each other. If you don't like each other, even if your powers matched, you won't become partners. The following process will be a face-to-face exchange to see if you can get along with each other. You can use any means you want as long as the dragon acknowledges your status. Your king requested 90 recruits. If we have more than that, I will choose the people with a higher degree of compatibility. If that number is not enough, I will also negotiate with the dragon appropriately and add some more. Now that the trial has begun, the outcome will depend on your luck. As soon as Fafnir's voice fell, one by one, the students spread their combat aura wings to fly into the air to look for a matching dragon. Some dragons also took the initiative to come in front of the students. The scene became lively. Come with me, Watson. Other than the fire dragons that I command, the rest of the dragons are known by other names. The dragon totem stores the basic information about the dragons that were sent over the spatial channel. I am going to take you to meet the dragons that did not record their information. Let's see if there are any that meet your needs. Watson stood apart from the rest of the crowd as if he did not belong there. At that moment, Fafnir approached him. Lady Fafnir, there is no need to be in such a rush. Can I ask you a question first? What is it? I am not sure if you can teach me how dragons transform into a human. I am hoping that my two pets will be able to transform into humans as well. Watson stated his wish. Fafnir looked at the two dragons on his shoulder, but she did not respond right away. Watson, you dare to ask for the magic that we use to transform into our human forms? Our elites developed it many years ago. Is it appropriate to ask about that? Ren pursed her lips. Of course, I am not going to ask for it for free. I will give you a reward. How about a potion that boosts the dragon's reproduction rate? Watson, didn't you already create that potion? What do you mean you won't take it for free? To be specific, the potion that I created is not really a potion. The side effects are severe. I think I can make a better potion than that. I believe the Dragon Clan does not want to use a potion with potentially fatal side effects to jeopardize their lives. Watson smiled calmly. Are you saying that you purposefully created the side effects? Rem's eyes widened. Even though Watson's potion had side effects, she was still pleased with its effectiveness. She had not anticipated that Watson would not use his full strength in that situation. What would happen if Watson took the potion seriously? Watson, I agree with your request, Fafnir said as she opened her mouth and looked at Watson. In any case, the magic used to transform a dragon into a human is not particularly powerful. Furthermore, it only works on dragons. As for the improved potion that you mentioned, let's talk about it after I impart that magic to you. If Watson had said that to her before, she might have thought he was bragging. However, her opinion changed when she saw the local specialty that Watson's two subordinates had sent over from afar. Watson's likelihood of lying was low if she could get something like the water from the spring of life. It did not matter if Watson lied as long as he gave her some of that. Dragons drank from the spring of life would live forever. Even if their fertility rate was low, if the dragon race would not die off. I would be no different than artificially increasing their numbers. Fafnir did not keep Watson waiting any longer, she calculated in her heart. When she extended her finger, a flame appeared on the tip of her finger. Watson, this is the magic that can turn a dragon into a human. She carved a ball with dragon language into the air. This has no effect on humans. It is possible that the dragons will not be used to it when they first use it. It will be fine after a few days of practice. Watson had already memorized the dragon language in front of him into his inner breath and turned it into his own knowledge as Fafnir spoke. Simultaneously, he fused it with the knowledge that already existed in his mind. Fusion system, activate. Congratulations, Master, for successfully fusing two transformation spells. You have obtained a Diamond Tier transformation spell, as well as a plethora of transformations. Diamond Tier spell. Plethora of transformations. Effect. Unrestricted transformations into any known living creature. Not only will the appearance of life change after transformation, but so will the structure of life. Non-living things can also change. Additional ability. Inheritance. After transforming into a certain living creature, one will inherit a portion of its ability. Watson passed the specific information of the transformation spell that appeared in his mind to the two dragons lying on his shoulders, the Golden Flash and Charcoal. Watson could transmit his ability to any existence that believed in him. The magical beasts he fused had pledged their allegiance to him. The two dragons immediately flew upward after sensing the knowledge he had imparted to them. As they began to transform, their bodies flickered in midair. The first to transform was the Golden Flash. The diamond-shaped scales on his body began to fall off one by one, revealing skin as white as jade beneath that. Following that, his dragon head and back wings contracted, transforming him into a handsome young man with silver hair. He was about 12 or 13 years old at the time. A long robe made of nebula draped over his body, lending him a sense of dignity. The Golden Flash had transformed into a human boy. "My honorable master," he said as he flew toward Watson and rushed into his arms. "Thank you for bestowing me with the ability to take on human form. I am Golden Flash, your most adorable and loyal pet, and I can finally talk to you." What had happened? Fafnir and her two family members' eyes widened. She did not know Watson would learn that spell quickly, but the Golden Flash on Watson's shoulder had already transformed into human form. His talent was far too great. What surprised them, even more, was that the situation was far from over. The Death Omen Star Dragon's body shrank as she transformed into a young girl the same age as Watson. 4 stars floated above her head. Her entire body was wrapped in bandages as if she were a mummy. Her long black hair flowed to the ground, her face was stunning beneath the bandages, and her pitch-black eyes were like an abyss that could attract anything. Golden Flash, as soon as you transformed into your human form, you rushed into Master's arms. Watson knelt on one knee after the girl appeared. As a pet, it is too disrespectful. You also addressed young Master Watson as Master. It is a very corny title. What do you mean, Charcoal? I was barely able to speak and wanted to practice a few more words. What is the problem with that? Furthermore, you said that my title is out of date. Can you think of a better title? Of course, Charcoal said. The way I address Master is the same way as those Black Moon Knights usually address me. Charcoal puffed up her flat chest proudly. It is meant to reflect my admiration. Why don't we call him Father? Chapter 451. Becoming Human. That is not a bad idea, Charcoal. That is, indeed, a more intimate and respectful way of addressing Master. Golden Flash nodded and raised his head in Watson's arms after hearing Charcoal's words. He had a look of admiration and delight on his face. From now on, Father Watson, you are our father. Don't call me that. I am only 12 years old. It is far too strange. Please refer to me as brother. Did you hear what I said, Golden Flash? Watson coughed in response to Golden Flash's words. The twinkle in Golden Flash's eyes indicated that he was not listening at all. After a brief pause, he patted Golden Flash's silky hair and silently agreed to let them call him father. Golden Flash had been with him the longest. Watson was overjoyed to see Golden Flash transform into a human and freely communicate with him. I want a hug too, father. Just as he held the Golden Flash in his arms, Charcoal, who was nearby, rushed over and jumped into Watson's arms too. She hugged Watson. That scene was heartwarming, with two children hugging their father. However, it felt more like an older brother and sister hugging a younger brother. Watson appeared to be about the same age as the Golden Flash and Charcoal, if not a little younger. Many people were taken aback when they saw the scene. How did Watson's two dragons become human? Is that a female dragon or a male dragon? Its main body clearly exudes a terrifying death aura. I was not expecting its mane to be so lovely. Am I sick? For a moment, the crowd sighed in surprise. They turned to face the other dragons. When they saw Watson's two dragons transform into human forms and be so close to Watson, that fueled their desire to obtain a dragon as a mount. They also desired to get close to the dragons. During that time, many students, including Watson's friends, quickly tried to make a treaty with the dragons. Miss Christina, I admire your skill as a swordsman. I am a Sword King mountain dragon, and I will be your mount from now onward. A giant dragon more than 100 meters long and had many sword-shaped mountains on its back landed in front of Christina. Its scales were as hard as rocks, and it transformed into a nearly 3-meter-tall man in a flash of light. Its muscular face was hidden behind a rock mask with numerous small holes in it. It was difficult to see its face. The powerful diamond tier aura from the Sword King mountain dragon's body was slightly restrained after transforming into its human form. Others could still detect a glimmer of his strength. Greetings, Charlotte. I am a golden holy dragon, and I am eager to work with you. Do you want to accept me? Miss Lily, I am a dark magic dragon, have taken fancy to you. Do not worry. I will grant you strength equal to or greater than that of a golden holy dragon. There was a giant golden dragon in the direction of Charlotte and Lily, covered in gleaming scales that glistened like dazzling sunlight. There was also a black dragon with 6 wings that obliterated the sky and emitted a black mist. The two dragons appeared to be rivals. They collided in the air as their diamond-tier energy collided with each other. Charlotte and Lily exchanged glances and smiles as they faced the two dragons' questions. I, Charlotte, am ready to welcome you. I, Lily, am ready to welcome you. On the other hand, in the direction of Casey. What is the matter with this dragon? Is this also a dragon? Who can help me? A soft thing was dangling from Casey's shoulder. It resembled a large pillow stuffed with feathers. It appeared soft, and there was a bird's beak in the corner of the pillow. Rather than a dragon, it resembled the head of a strange bird. It was sleeping. Initially, I was overjoyed that I had been chosen to take the test. Lana, after all, was not chosen. That demonstrates that my talent is not insignificant. However, this dragon is nothing like I expected. Even if my dragon is not as beautiful as Watson and can't transform into a human, it should be as powerful and domineering as Miss Christina's dragon. But what is the matter with this sleeping bag dragon? It appears to be too frail, Casey mumbled angrily. People like Christina made up only a small percentage of the hundreds of students in attendance. The majority of the students were compatible with the dragon race, but they were unable to satisfy the dragons. Your strength is only gold tier? You are already 16, but you are only a gold tier elite. You will have no future development with such talent. I will only suffer if I follow you. I am not going to become your mount. And you? Why are you not a lovely young lady? Only a pure and beautiful woman would be allowed to ride on a noble, flowing light dragon like me. You do not even have proper accessories. With just one look, I can tell you are not wealthy. By following someone like you, I will suffer in the future. If you are going to entice me, at least dress decently. Dragons were noble creatures with a variety of personality flaws. Many students were not chosen because they were not strong enough, were not female, or did not have enough money. The rest of the students were soon paired with their dragons. Only about 50 recruits were successfully matched with their dragons, accounting for 1/10 of those who attended. The number of people chosen by the dragons appears to be lower than I expected. King Landhar III requested 90 spots, which means I still need to convince 40 dragons to pair up with those humans. It is a difficult task. Fafnir cast a glance at Watson. Watson was still interacting with the Golden Flash and Charcoal, and he had no intention of choosing a dragon. When she was certain that Watson was not in a hurry to leave, she walked toward the crowd. Simultaneously, in a manor in the royal city, Nightingale sat on a bench in the manor's flower bed, holding a flower in her hand. She picked the petals of the flower gently, piece by piece, with her slender fingers. Nightingale was muttering to herself as she did that. I have not seen young Master Watson in a long time, and I certainly have not seen him today. I heard that he took part in the Dragon Knight recruitment event and has left the royal city. I wonder if he will return tomorrow. Will I see him then? Yes? Nightingale plucked one of the petals. No, she plucked another one. It was a flower with 7 petals. Soon, she plucked the last petal. It was a number. She pouted in displeasure. She took a new petal from the flower bed behind her and began counting again. You are picking petals in the flower bed again, Nightingale. Why don't you go to Watson's if you are bored? A mature woman's voice could be heard. Denise was holding a plate and several cups of black tea. She appeared in front of Nightingale dressed as a noble lady. Are you going out dressed like that, Sister Denise? I would like to see Watson, but he has been very busy recently, and I do not want to bother him. When Nightingale saw Denise, her eyes brightened briefly before dimming again. She went to the royal city to be closer to Watson, but once there, she discovered that Watson had no time for her, even if he assigned her a few missions and gave her something to do. She would have stayed on Mount Creation if she had known that. At the very least, the resources on Mount Creation were more plentiful than elsewhere. You are right. I do need to go out. A countess owned this manor. When the queen was alive, that countess was a close friend of hers, so she lent us the manor temporarily. I heard she is not feeling well, so I will send her some black tea to help her body heal. Do you want to accompany me, Nightingale? Denise drew the visor over her face. Denise said, come with me. In any case, you will only be destroying the flowers here. I will not be able to answer her if the manor owner discovers that you have destroyed all of the flower beds here when she reclaims the manor. Miss Denise, I will accompany you. Denise had a point, so Nightingale stood up, swept the flower pieces off her body, and followed Denise to the gate. There was a stable near the gate, with a simple carriage inside. A tall black horse quietly chewed the grass in the stable. Little Gray, you are a powerful magical beast that Watson had fused, but he had also forgotten about you the moment you arrived in the capital. What a pity. Nightingale approached the black horse and stroked its face gently with her fingers. She was moved to tears. She subconsciously thought of herself when she saw the horse in front of her. Little Gray, the sky-devouring rat king, was that horse, a platinum-tier magical beast. Watson brought it to the capital because he lacked a suitable mount to travel there. Little Gray had been in the capital for a long time and had not received any orders from Watson. Just as Nightingale was about to give up, she had the strangest feeling that the touch of her fingers on Little Gray was not quite right. Looking down, Nightingale was taken aback by what she saw. Little Gray's face, which she touched, had changed from the shape of a horse to a round human face, and even Little Gray's body had changed from a horse standing more than a meter tall to a child standing the same height. Except for the gray nose and the two round mouse ears in the silver-gray hair on top of his head, Little Gray looked like any other human. Nightingale's fingers pinched Little Gray's cheek at that precise moment. His delicate face was deformed and appeared full of elasticity as a result of her pinch. Nightingale could not help but pull it hard because of the soft touch. Sister Nightingale, that hurts. Little Gray, what happened? How did you get that way? And you can speak? Nightingale was taken aback and took a few steps backward, her face expressionless. It was normal for a high-tier magical beast to have intelligence comparable to that of a human, but it was unusual for a magical beast to be able to speak when in human form. Other magical beasts were said to lack such abilities, aside from dragons, who had to communicate with humans and master magic that allowed them to transform into their human form. Nightingale and Denise, who was standing next to her, were taken aback. Denise's black tea almost fell to the ground. Fortunately, she reacted quickly. When confronted with Nightingale's question, Little Gray reached out and rubbed his red and swollen face, looking perplexed. I do not know why I suddenly became like this. It appears that my distinguished master, Watson, has just comprehended some magic that can transform a magical beast into a human form and then taught that magic to me via telepathy. Watson did not waste time after receiving the magic that Fafnir taught him to transform dragons into humans. He immediately improved it via the fusion system and passed it on to all the magical beasts he had fused. So Watson was the one who did it. Then it's not surprising. Nightingale patted him on the back. Watson had done various magical things in the past, but he managed to make magical beasts transform into human forms and talk. It did not come as a surprise to her. Despite the fact that Watson has not visited Little Gray in a few days, he has been thinking about it. Little Gray is much happier than I am in this regard. I am the only one who no one really notices. Nightingale was taken aback by Little Gray's appearance, but she was moved to tears on that second thought. Little Gray was able to accept Watson's benefits remotely, but she never received them. Did that mean she was not even comparable to a pet? Not only did Little Gray complete its transformation at that point, but the other magical beast had as well. You claim to have been an angelic unicorn in the past. You are now in human form and can speak because young Master Watson taught you a spell that allows you to transform into a human form. Elvin stood on the 8th floor of the Sky's courtyard, staring blankly at the woman in front of him, who was in a long gleaming gown and had a single horn on her head. She appeared to be as holy and beautiful as an angel, and Elvin was taken aback. That is correct, my lady. This ability was bestowed upon me by young Master Watson. The angelic unicorn, who had transformed into a human, spread 2 wings on her back, allowing her to float gently through the sky. She nodded slightly in response to Elvin's question. Her voice was soothing, like a clear spring running through the cracks of a stone. Elvin, I just heard a loud cry from the courtyard where you are. Is there a problem? The courtyard door swung open at that precise moment. Eamon and Basher went to the courtyard with Veronica. When they saw the angel-like woman floating in midair, their faces turned solemn. What is it? I'm pretty sure I have never seen her before. Is she an intruder? She seems quite formidable. Whoever she is, she won't be able to enter the Severed Fingers Gang's headquarters. They are certainly daring. I will take care of her. I will throw her on the bed and question her after I have subdued her. No, I mean bring her into the room and question her. I am sure I will get an answer. Basher looked up at the humanoid form of the angelic unicorn floating in midair. His vision was a little foggy. The angelic unicorn's human form possessed the qualities of both an angel and a unicorn. Furthermore, she was only dressed in a light muslin gown made of glowing energy, revealing her pure white shoulders and pearl-like ankles. It had an incomparable impact on men, of course. You have not changed your lecherous habits, Basher. Veronica's lips curled. I am not comfortable delegating interrogation to you. Who knows if you will question her after capturing her or if you have other plans. I will leave that up to you, Aemon. No problem. Aemon made a battle pose with his fists outstretched. As a student of the Royal Academy, Watson had gone to the Dragon Lair to take part in the Dragon Knight recruitment process. Unfortunately, unlike Watson, Aemon could not join the test, so he did not accompany Watson to the Dragon Lair. He became very depressed as a result of that. When he saw an enemy had invaded their place, he used the opportunity to vent his rage. Wait! When Elven realized Aemon was about to make a move, she yelled angrily. The woman is not an adversary. She is the unicorn. Don't lie, Elven. I am sure I have seen a unicorn before. It has a stupid expression on its face. I had wished I could cook it for young Master Watson. It would have died a long time ago if I hadn't been afraid that you'd get angry. How did such a stupid-looking pet become such a lovely lady? Basher shook his head in disbelief, waving his hand. The unicorn in the sky returned to its original form as soon as he said that. It opened its mouth, and its gleaming fur fluttered with the flapping of its wings, proclaiming the rage in its heart. You are the idiot, Basher. Your entire family members are morons. Was it really an angelic unicorn? It was Basher's turn to be stunned. Veronica and Aemon were also taken aback. What's going on, Elven? How did the unicorn transform into a human? Well, just now, young Master Watson appeared to have grasped some kind of spell capable of transforming a magical beast into a human. Then he taught that spell to the unicorn, and the rest is history. Following Elven's explanation, the three people nodded as if they understood it. They had not recovered from their shock. Bang! The door to Elven's courtyard was pushed open with a muffled sound. Klein entered the room from the outside. Dearest Elven, my subordinate just gave me a report. A strange cry was coming from your courtyard. I dropped what I was doing and came here to take a look. Are you all right? I am perfectly fine. Young Master Watson had just learned a spell and transmitted it to the unicorn via his consciousness. Elven began to explain, but the door to her courtyard was pushed open again before she could finish. Marcus burst through the door. I heard something happened in your courtyard, Elven. So, what happened? Elven was speechless. When they found out she was in trouble, the higher-ups rushed to her, one by one, which made her very happy. However, she was getting tired of being asked about what had happened. She hoped that those people could come in at once, and she could explain to them at one go. At the floating city quickly returned to normalcy after Watson left. At that moment, a golden boat resembling a massive whale emerged from the water at the entrance to the floating city. The water flowed down the golden boat's surface. The surprising thing was that the ship was entirely made of steel plates. The entire body of the boat was sealed without a single crack. That's the Ptolemy's golden submarine. Everyone, hurry up and leave. That golden submarine is not like other types of boats. It is made entirely of gold-plated metal. It is flawless. Our boat would be shattered if we hit it. The fishermen's cries could be heard from the nearby boats. Regardless of size, they took off in all directions. Even if their ship did not disintegrate due to a collision with the submarine, they could not accept it. They finally replicated a submarine after Watson developed one, and the Ptolemy family studied it day and night with disdain. An ordinary ship was like a fragile piece of paper in front of such an epic-making deep-sea behemoth. The family head is in the submarine. Open the gate and let them in. It was not just the ships in the range of the submarine. The guards in charge of the city gate quickly opened the gate, allowing the golden submarine to enter the city. After entering the city, the submarine's hatch opened. Daniel Ptolemy, the head of the Ptolemy family, rose from the hatch. He appeared to be much darker. Everyone had not seen him for a long time. Daniel opened his arms and welcomed the sea breeze blowing on the submarine with a satisfied look on his face. The blueprint that Watson left for the Ptolemy family is exquisite, indeed. That gold-tier submarine was barely built according to the blueprint. It had only about 50% similarity to the original, but it has still brought a new era for maritime transport. From now on, mankind will conquer the sea. No storm or tsunami can stop our footsteps. The sea is boundless and more expansive than land. If the Holy Dragon Kingdom can occupy the sea, then we can enslave the sea folks again in the future. We can also use the sea to ambush other kingdoms. If the Holy Dragon Kingdom can occupy other kingdoms in the future, it will definitely be related to the Golden Submarine. The Ptolemy family will also be recorded in the kingdom's history. Daniel's eyes sparkled, and his eyes were filled with excitement. At that moment, someone shouted from the riverside not far away from him. "Master Daniel, there's an urgent report from the capital." A silver-tier guard spread his combat aura wings and held a stack of parchment paper in his hands. He flew across the river and arrived on the Golden Submarine. He knelt on one knee and handed the document to Daniel. After receiving the papers, Daniel took a few casual glances at them. His eyes suddenly widened, and the corners of his mouth twitched. His beard also quivered. "Good, good, good. His Majesty has convened the Dragon Knight recruitment process today. Casey has been chosen to be one of them. Although I don't know if he will become a Dragon Knight, the fact that he has the qualifications to become a Dragon Knight is already very impressive for the Ptolemy family. He had just become one of the kingdom's 16 geniuses not too long ago, and now he even has the qualifications to become a Dragon Knight. It seems like he is not as useless as I thought. Indeed, letting him go to the capital to study at the Royal Academy was the right choice. The floating city was not far from the capital. In addition, there were magical messengers that passed messages between the large cities and the capital so that many notes could be transmitted within a day. A few days ago, after Daniel received the news that Casey had become one of the kingdom's 16 geniuses, he ordered his family's guards to keep an eye on the movements of those magical messengers. Once there was any news, they had to inform him immediately. In the past, the Ptolemy family did not have any decent geniuses in their family. Although they were on par with Campbell and the Saint Laurent families, they were far inferior to the other two families. They could only choose to give up their positions in the royal city. They returned to their old home in the floating city to operate in secret. However, the situation was different then. "Inform my family that I will be going out for some time." "May I know where you are going, master?" "Idiot, the royal city, of course. My son has made such a significant contribution. Shouldn't I go and take a look?" Daniel reprimanded the guard with a cold face. For many years, the expression on his face was one of fake joy. For many years, his son's cowardice had always been a thorn in his heart. Many people even accused him of not knowing how to raise his children. However, when he saw Casey's achievements, he wanted to know if anyone else dared to say that he was not good at raising children. Who else had the right to mock him? Daniel wanted nothing more than to fly to the royal city and show his son off in front of everyone. He wanted to vent the resentment he had suffered all those years because of his son. "Master Daniel, apart from young Master Casey, there's also another piece of news from the royal city. They said that someone from the Ptolemy family named Geraint had arrived in the royal city today. His Majesty invited him to the royal palace as he had brought many generous gifts from the border." "Geraint?" Daniel frowned and thought for a moment. "I remember that he is a young man with good talent from another branch of the family. He is smart, so I sent him to the border. Has he completed his term at the border and returned to the capital?" "I can't remember. No matter what, His Majesty's invitation correlates with his ability. I will see him when I go to the capital." Daniel's tone was indifferent when he mentioned Geraint. How could a person from the Branch family be compared to their precious son no matter how talented he was? After making up his mind, he packed up his things and left the floating city with his guards. The submarine that Daniel was in slowly sailed toward the direction of the capital. He did not notice that the surface of the water beneath the submarine fluctuated not long after he left, and two female mermaids surfaced. They looked around vigilantly. When they realized that there was no one around, they heaved a sigh of relief and started talking. Did you hear that? The head of the Ptolemy family said that he would leave the floating city for a while. I don't know if I heard it wrong. You did not hear it wrong. I heard it too. That's good for us. The Ptolemy family had developed a gold-tier submarine, and the sea has become a place for them to enter and leave at will. We have already moved our territory to a very faraway place. If this continues, we will still have the risk of being discovered. Now that the head of the Ptolemy family has left, we are temporarily safe. Let's go and report this to the Empress. The sea folks submerged into the ocean and disappeared. At the sea folks' location, the sea folks had undergone a huge change compared to the past. Firstly, the underground city had expanded dozens of times since Atlantis and the 12 Golden Palaces. In between those underwater cities, there were many underwater tunnels. Those tunnels were long and dense, like a huge spider web that separated the sea from the city. That was Watson's plan for the future. He wanted to build the undersea dragon palace, covering the entire sea and achieving material transfer between the sea and the land. That project had officially entered a stable stage, thanks to the materials from Mount Creation. At that moment, the Sea Tribe's princess, Alice, was swaying her fishtail as she sat on top of an undersea tunnel. Those tunnels were made of some kind of platinum-tier material. Not only were they indestructible, but they were also transparent. One could only see the water from the outside. If one did not know about those tunnels, it would be difficult to find them even if the tunnels were in front of them. Most of the buildings in Atlantis and the 12 Golden Palaces had similar undersea tunnels. As a result, they became invisible cities. In addition, most of the tunnels were built in places far away from the mainland. Even if the Ptolemy family drove submarines to check on them every day, they would not be able to see those cities. I wonder how Brother Watson is in the royal city. Does he think about me? I miss him every day. Alice sighed. At that moment, a kind voice came from behind her. Alice, you're here for Master Watson again? Alice realized that the person standing behind her was her mother, Poseidon. Poseidon's expression was a little complicated. Alice, I know that Watson is a very outstanding person, but humans and sea folks are two different races. It is very difficult for love between races to bear fruit. If possible, I hope that you can forget about Watson. There are many outstanding youths among the sea folks. Poseidon thought that Alice would forget about Watson. However, that did not happen. Instead, it became even worse. Every day, she would go to the undersea tunnel to look at the surface. The undersea tunnel that Alice chose was the closest to the surface of the sea. In addition, she went there every day. Many seafarers sighed with delight when they saw her. Mother, why can't different races love each other? Does love have boundaries? Then, Alice continued in a childish tone. Like, seriously, Alice, you... Poseidon's expression changed. Her lips moved as if she wanted to scold her, but in the end, she sighed and raised her hand to touch her daughter's hair. You're still too naive. I'll give you the simplest example. Why can't different races be together? Because the sea creatures have to live in the water. Once we leave to the surface, we'll fall into weakness. Watson is different. He's a human. He needs the air to live. Do you expect him to eat and sleep in the water? Just like how it is difficult for us to survive on land, the most crucial thing in a relationship is company. Without company, everything is just empty talk. Alice nodded as if she understood it. If one's race is the shackle that blocks emotions, then I don't want to be a sea folk anymore. I want to become a human. Alice, why are you being so ridiculous? Do you think it's so easy to change one's race? As far as I know, the only potion that can change one's race is the Angel Transformation Potion developed by young Master Watson. I don't know if young Master Watson can make something that allows one to change to a human. Even if he can, you are of the Sea Tribe, and you have the bloodline of the royal family in your body. If you want to change into a weaker human, aren't you disrespecting your ancestors? Is there no other way? No, absolutely not. Poseidon rejected Alice's question, wanting to break her views. At that moment, Poseidon's body suddenly trembled, as if something were transmitted into her mind. Alice's body also shook with her. Alice, who had been on the verge of tears because of Poseidon's words, suddenly widened her eyes after a brief moment of confusion, revealing a look of joy. Mother, a spell suddenly appeared in my mind. It's young Master Watson. It's a spell that can transform a magical beast into anything, even a human. After the transformation, one can obtain the characteristics of that race. In other words, after transforming into a human, I will no longer need water and will not become weak. This is great. Even if you decided that it was impossible, Mother, young Master Watson still did it. With this ability, I can leave the water and go look for young Master Watson. Alice, don't be so excited yet. Although you can transform into a human, you don't have the strength. In addition, the Ptolemy family controlled the floating city and lost a large number of slaves because of us. For a little girl like you, who doesn't have any status, you'd be in a lot of danger. Poseidon stretched her hand outward, but she did not sound confident. She had never expected that Watson would pass such a spell to them when she was about to succeed in consoling her daughter. Did he do that on purpose? While she was thinking about that, they heard joyful shouts from somewhere not far away. This is great. I just got a spell from young Master Watson. It is something that can change our form. When we built the palace, even though we could make the building transparent so that no one would notice us, we would still be in danger when we go out and other people see us. It's different now. With this spell, we can become humans. Even if we are seen by others, it doesn't matter. As expected of young Master Watson. It's more convenient to believe in young Master Watson than in the sea god. With this spell, we can truly rest easy. Apart from that spell, we also want to share with you a piece of good news. We just overheard that the head of the Ptolemy family is leaving the floating city and heading to the royal city for some time. He will take a large number of their soldiers with him. We are free. They were the two who had rushed back from the floating city. Did you hear that, Mother? The head of the Ptolemy family is leaving and will take many guards with him. The floating city will no longer be dangerous. It doesn't matter if I go out. Alice's eyes were shining as she placed her hands on her chest and said, Brother Watson just gave us a spell, and the head of the Ptolemy family is leaving. What does that mean? That must be the guidance from heaven. They want me to take advantage of this period to go out and meet Brother Watson. Alice, you. Poseidon saw Alice's expression and knew that Alice would not listen to anything she said. She could only sigh. If you insist on going out, you must bring enough guards with you. I'll assign Elena to you. No, I'll let Owen go with you as well. Thank you, Mother. I'll go find Uncle Owen now. Alice was excited. She swung her beautiful blue fishtail and swam away, leaving Poseidon speechless. She glared at the two sea folks who had just arrived. Your Majesty, why do you look so unhappy? Aren't you surprised by the news? The two sea folks asked in confusion. Yes, I'm too surprised, Poseidon said, trying hard not to show her discomfort. If they had not told her the news in front of Alice, she might have been pleased about it. However, it seemed like she would not see Alice for a long time. At the dragon lair, Watson stood on the mountain range with the golden flash and charcoal in his arms. He looked happy. After he had the spell, not only had he taught the golden flash and charcoal, but he had also taught it to everyone who was related to him and believed in him. I'm sure it's not just magical beasts now. The Sea Tribe and the slaves taking their refuge with the Sea Tribe have all received that spell. They can now hide their beastly characteristics to become humans and live peacefully in the Holy Dragon Kingdom. I'm sure they must feel very grateful. Watson looked smug. He was a leader, so he should let his subordinates live better lives. After arriving at the capital, he had been tired of dealing with King Landhar III. He had not forgotten his family and friends. Brat, why are you giggling? You look so disgusting. A man's voice interrupted Watson's thoughts. Watson raised his head and realized that the person mocking him was Julius. Before he could speak, Charcoal and the Golden Flash, who were in his arms, had already raised their heads and bared their teeth at Julius. Killing intent appeared on their faces. How dare you insult Father? I'll kill you. You're a mere human. I'll stuff you into my mouth and chew you up. I won't even leave you with any of your bones. The threats of those two diamond-tier dragons caused Julius's expression to change. He subconsciously took 2 steps backward, but he quickly regained his composure. Watson, I'm too lazy to waste my breath on you. We have confirmed the 90 Dragon Knight recruits. Next, we will choose a new dragon with the help of the Dragon King. I get special treatment because I lost my dragon. Those 2 dragons are not included in our quota. If you don't want them, then reject them. Don't waste my precious time. Quote. Hearing Julius's words, Watson looked around and found that it was just as Julius had said. 90 students stood with their respective dragons, and those not selected continued to glare at him. Watson nodded. Sorry for the delay. I have no intention of refusing the offer. Let's begin the selection now. Chapter 452. A one-sided choice. What a loathsome fellow. He clearly is not friendly to the dragon race, yet he can obtain the dragon's goodwill. This time, I alone will be enough to select a dragon. Julius snorted coldly at Watson's words and muttered unhappily. Julius was born into a minor aristocratic family in the kingdom. When he was young, his father had taught him that strength was not the most essential thing in the world, but hard work was. Because of his father's teachings, he could not give up hard work even if he was not talented. As long as one worked hard, even the weak could eventually become strong one day. That had not changed after he became a dragon knight. The thunder-clawed dragon that he had was very ordinary in a nest of dragons. It did not support his ability to become the vice-captain of the Dragon Knights. It was because of his remarkable hard work that the thunder-clawed dragon became so powerful. Everything was because of him. He would capture magical beasts for the thunder-clawed dragon every day and let the thunder-clawed dragon fight against powerful magical beasts. After the fight, he would also spray expensive potions on the thunder-clawed dragon's wounds to increase the dragon's recovery ability. Those potions often cost him a month's salary. In addition to bringing the thunder-clawed dragon to fight against magical beasts, he would also set up a large number of training plans for the dragon every day, including crushing 100,000 stones with its claws, using his teeth to bite through 10,000 meters of steel plates, melting a mountain with flames, and so on. He understood the most important reason for hard work, and so he forced the thunder-clawed dragon to constantly work in the direction he wanted, so that the thunder-clawed dragon became powerful. Some people might ask, why did he work so hard? Was that not obvious? As a dragon knight, his main source of strength was the thunder-clawed dragon. As long as the thunder-clawed dragon became stronger, he would become stronger. The thunder-clawed dragon was one with him, so its hard work was his hard work. The thunder-clawed dragon died because it had not completed the mission he had given it on time. Instead, it flew out of the territory of the Dragon Knights. It was unknown whether it was to find food or to relax. That was why Basher killed it as a wild giant dragon. The source of that tragedy was not only Watson's fault but also the thunder-clawed dragon's laziness. If the thunder-clawed dragon had listened to his orders properly, would that situation have happened? This time, I must find a dragon that is stronger and harder working than the thunder-clawed dragon, and then ascend to the peak of the Dragon Knights with it. Julius secretly clenched his fists and said it in his heart. The death of the thunder-clawed dragon was not a bad thing for him. With the thunder-clawed dragon's hard work, it was enough to support him to become the Dragon Knight's vice-captain. If he found a dragon who could work harder, he could still advance his status. While Julius was deep in thought, Fafnir came to the two of them and waved to the sky. Julius and Watson, I don't need to set any restrictions on the dragons that you may choose. As long as the dragon agrees to go with you, then I won't ask any questions. Of course, you can only choose one dragon. There was no need to make any concession for Watson. Without the talent of a dragon knight, it would be the same no matter what kind of dragon he chose. Fafnir only needed to fulfill her promise. As for Julius, she did not care. Julius could control the dragon fusion. The dragon he chose would be a dragon who could use that move. So, which dragon would you choose? I really can't wait to see that. Fafnir could not help but smile. As soon as her voice fell, the roars of thousands of dragons instantly came from the sky. Those dragons circled in the air and looked down at Watson and Julius. They did not descend immediately, as if they were deciding on the differences between the two. It was not just the dragons. Many of the students also whispered to each other as they looked at Watson and Julius. Julius, on the other hand, is a member of the Dragon Knights. Watson does not deserve to be a Dragon Knight, and he can't perform the dragon fusion, so he might as well give the dragons to me instead. Watson was left with a sour taste in his mouth when he heard that. You can't say that. We would not have been able to come here and choose a dragon if Watson had not created a potion that satisfied the dragon clan. Instead, we must express our gratitude to Watson. We can provide him with a dragon. After all, even if Watson doesn't want the dragon, he already has 2 dragons of his own, and I'm envious about that. A nearby man shook his head. Watson already had 2 dragons, as he had stated. If he desired another one, he would have 3 dragons. That was in stark contrast to those who did not have even 1 dragon. I am curious what kind of dragon Watson will get. He will undoubtedly receive one. Lily stood in the crowd, teasing the shrunken dark magic dragon on her shoulder with her hand. No matter what kind of dragon Watson gets, it will not be as good as my dark magic dragon, she said nervously. Lily, don't make light of it. My golden holy dragon can outperform your dragon. Charlotte's voice could be heard next to them, causing Lily to turn her head in displeasure. What do you mean, Charlotte? Do you want to go toe-to-toe with me? If you want to fight, we should fight. You think I'm afraid? Charlotte and Lily's relationship was tense, and even the dragon on their shoulders was hostile to each other. A brawl appeared to be on the horizon. Christina, who was not far away, paid no attention to them. Instead, her gaze was drawn to Watson. A muscular man, the Sword King Mountain Dragon, stood behind her and said, Miss Christina, I can feel your concern. Please do not worry. Watson is a young man with a lot of power in his body. It is an undeniably appealing feature for dragons. I might have chosen him if I had not been so compatible with you, Miss Christina. I believe a large number of dragons will choose him. I hope so, Christina said hurriedly. Julius, who was standing next to Watson, took an unexpected action. He whistled at the sky, lifted his right hand, and removed his golden armor. He threw it to the ground. His muscular body was riddled with scars that revealed his strong and manly muscles. That scarred body was like a man's metal. When combined with Julius's attractive appearance, it caused quite a few girls to scream. Julius appeared pleased with the reaction he had elicited. He spread his legs and lowered his body, pointing to a massive dragon in the sky. A massive earthen yellow dragon with a platinum tier aura immediately flew down toward him. That massive dragon had a triangular head with 3 sharp dragon horns. When it landed, the ground shook. Roar! The giant dragon roared at Julius. The roar became a rolling sound wave that blew Julius's hair and caused his face and muscles to ripple like waves. Julius was unfazed by the scene. Instead, he charged upward, grabbed one of the dragon's claws with both hands, and began a fierce battle with it. A layer of sky-blue water elemental combat aura appeared on Julius's body during this process, and lightning shot in all directions. Electric arcs wrapped around the earthen yellow dragon's body, transforming into ropes that bound its wings, immobilizing it completely. Meanwhile, Julius reached out with his hand and grabbed the lightning rope, yanking the earth elemental dragon upward and smashing it to the ground, causing the dragon to wail in pain. He continued to throw the lightning rope before the dragon could react. He repeatedly smashed the dragon to the ground. Everyone's faces were filled with shock when they saw that scene. There were no moves or powerful combat aura fluctuations when fighting a dragon with the strength of a human. He was simply fighting the dragon with his strength. The crowd was dumbfounded. Get down! Julius had already pushed the earthen yellow dragon to the ground after only a few minutes of fighting. He stood tall above the dragon's head, like a mighty dragon slayer. He clenched his fist and looked around. There was a commotion among the dragons in the sky. A few of the dragons retracted their wings and landed next to Julius, as if they were smitten with him. Julius was an expert on dragons as he was a dragon knight. Dragons were a power-hungry race, and they were also proud. Only raw, untrained power could move them, just as he had done to the earth elemental dragon beneath him. Dragons would not use magic if he used brute force. Otherwise, he would not be able to suppress the dragon with the power of a peak gold tier elite. He had attracted a sufficient number of dragons as a result of his outstanding performance. One of them piqued his interest. It was a purple dragon with lightning on its wings. It was a diamond tier purple lightning dragon. It was very compatible with his characteristics. If he could gain the dragon's favor and perform the dragon fusion flawlessly, he would have made a fortune. The Dragon Knight Legion lacked a diamond tier dragon. That was because the dragon race had paid little attention to the Dragon Knight Legion, only awarding them platinum tier dragons. However, it seemed like he could be the first person in the Dragon Knight Legion to match with a diamond tier dragon. With his extensive experience, he could easily become the captain of the Dragon Knight Legion in one fell swoop. Julius approached the purple lightning dragon with flames in his eyes and touched the dragon's body. The purple lightning dragon spread its wings as soon as he touched it, and dense purple lightning appeared on its wings. It wrapped itself around its entire body and blew a layer of fine purple hair between the scales on its neck. Dragon fusion, activate. Julius's eyes flashed, and he activated the dragon fusion after sensing that the dragon only roared but had no intention of resisting him. The purple lightning dragon's massive body instantly transformed into bolts of lightning in response to his voice. Those lightning bolts gathered around Julius in an instant, forming lightning storms that concentrated on his body. Lightning-shaped patterns appeared on his body in an instant. Julius was half naked, but scales sprouted from his upper body at that point. Each scale was wrapped in electric arcs, more than doubling his body size. At the same time, his hair took on the appearance of lightning, twisting and growing upwards. His eyes changed from yellow to that of a luminous color. Julius appeared to be the reincarnation of the god of thunder at the time, slowly floating into the sky. Lightning transformed into a cage, shattering the ground around him. The long tail on his back swung like the god of thunder's whip, carving deep ravines in the ground. The transformation happened in a matter of seconds, but it was shocking. Julius landed on the ground shortly after releasing the dragon fusion. "Dragon King, I have chosen." He bowed respectfully to Fafnir, his face filled with uncontrollable joy. "I would like to have that purple lightning dragon as my partner." "Are you sure you are not going to change your decision?" "I am certain," Julius responded without hesitation. The purple lightning dragon was a far superior replacement for the thunderclawed dragon. The thunderclawed dragon could only use its claws to cover the invincible lightning, whereas the purple lightning dragon had even more powerful lightning flowing all over its body. They would undoubtedly be able to improve themselves with that dragon's unwavering efforts. Thinking about that, he could not help but notice Watson, who had been watching from the sidelines since the beginning. The corners of his mouth formed a cold arc. "Watson, why have you not left yet? Does this imply that they would want to pick you? Perhaps no dragon will choose you after my performance. Standing here is a waste of time. Why don't you give this a pass?" "What are you saying, you B*****? Who said no dragon would choose father? Am I not a dragon? Are there any powerful dragons?" The golden flash was no longer able to listen to that. He waved his fist at Julius while looking up at the sky. "Come down and be my father's pet. There are not many chances to be my father's pet. First come, first served. If you don't understand that, you may live to regret it for the rest of your life." The dragons continued to hover as soon as the golden flash's voice faded. None of them were easily defeated. The golden flash had used the word pet to describe them. Most of the dragons were comparable to Julius's chosen dragon. Furthermore, Julius was an elite who could resist a dragon. He deserved their respect. Watson appeared frail. He was only about 12 or 13 years old. There was nothing else worthy of praise besides the powerful strength contained within his body. The golden flash's expression was bleak because no dragon reacted to his words. He rolled his eyes and reached into his arms for a piece of dried meat. The meat released a lot of energy fluctuations. "I will ask once more. Is there a dragon who wants to be my father's pet? If there is a willing dragon, this piece of meat will belong to that dragon." The golden flash shook the meat in his hand while Julius, beside him, sneered and almost laughed out loud. "Using meat to attract the dragons? That is the first time I have seen a contract with a dragon signed in such a manner. Please forgive my bluntness. The dragons are noble creatures, not dogs. It would be strange if you were able to attract the dragons in this manner." A shadow flashed in front of Julius just as he was about to mock Watson. He saw a feathered dragon with a bird's head appear next to the golden flash. It was a pillow-like dragon. It opened its mouth and bit into the meat. The pillow-shaped dragon ripped the meat into its mouth with a bite. Its body swelled as if it had been inflated. It grew from the size of a pillow to a massive dragon 100 meters wide. The feathers curled inside, revealing the delicate scales beneath. The dragon's head grew in size in tandem with its body. It changed from the shape of a bird to a dragon. Only its stomach was still covered in feathers. There was a large opening on its belly that looked like a pocket. It was made of feathers. The sleeping bag dragons were platinum-tier dragons. They were thought to be a one-of-a-kind existence among the dragon race. That was because their skin was covered in scales on one side and feathers on the other. They were energy storage under normal circumstances. As a result, they would flip out the sleeping bag in the direction of their stomach and wrap their bodies in the feathers on the opposite side. It would only reveal its actual body when it felt excited. The feathers would reappear in the sleeping bag, showing the scales. The sleeping bag dragon got its name from the fact that it slept in a sleeping bag. The sleeping bag dragon roared a few times in excitement after eating the meat in the Golden Flash's hand. Following that, its body shrank and returned to a fluffy pillow. It floated next to Watson's ear and intimately rubbed against it, making him itchy. "Watson, that sleeping bag dragon is a perfect match for me. You can choose another dragon because there are so many of them here. Please don't take my dragon." Casey could not help himself. He rushed out after the sleeping bag dragon flew toward Watson. Even if he were not happy with that sleeping bag dragon, it was still a dragon. Furthermore, when the sleeping bag dragon transformed into its true form, it displayed tremendous power. That greatly improved his opinion of the sleeping bag dragon. "Don't worry, I am not going to steal someone else's dragon." Watson extended his hand and touched the sleeping bag dragon. His eyes were fixed on the sky. More than 10 dragons had been circling and refusing to come down, but they immediately flew down when he raised his head. The number of dragons grew steadily. What is going on? What prompted those dragons to descend after Watson's pet threw out a piece of meat? What was that meat? Julius's face was frowning because he could not comprehend the situation. The majority of the students were also perplexed by the situation. At that moment, Fafnir slowly opened her mouth and said, "It was platinum tier meat." The meat in the Golden Flash's hand was platinum tier magical beast meat. Was magical beast meat of the highest quality? Many people had a look of understanding on their faces. It was no surprise that the dragons did not arrive right away, nor did they all arrive at the same time. They were greedy. They had no one to blame but themselves. After all, many of the dragons there were platinum tier, and eating the meat of magical beasts of the same level was an excellent tonic for them. It has the potential to promote them to a higher level effectively. "Father, am I powerful? I was able to get so many dragons for you all at once." After many of the dragons were defeated, the Golden Flash took credit for them. "You are extremely powerful. Excellent work." Watson rubbed the Golden Flash's head. Charcoal, who was standing at the side, became agitated. She gritted her teeth and smashed the space with her fist after giving it some thought. She drew a massive egg from the black void, which was ablaze with white holy flames. The egg was approximately the size of a human head. Aside from the holy flames, it also had a phoenix print on it. Any dragon that wants to be father's pet will get this phoenix egg. As soon as she said that, the dragons circling Charcoal stopped and stared at the phoenix egg. They let out a terrifying dragon roar. The dragons rushed toward, twisting into airborne balls. Unfortunately, the sleeping bag dragon closest to Charcoal had already flown in front of the phoenix egg and swallowed it in one gulp before those dragons could land in front of it. The sleeping bag dragon, which had eaten the phoenix egg, had reverted to its original form. Suddenly, its back sprouted a pair of phoenix wings. Its aura had progressed from platinum tier to peak platinum tier. The sleeping bag dragon had clearly awakened its phoenix bloodline and evolved into a more powerful dragon after swallowing the phoenix egg. Many dragons that did not manage to eat the egg roared and shrank in midair. They transformed into humans and landed around Watson. "Sleeping bag dragon, you vile thief. You have already got a master. What are you doing here? It's fine if you ate the platinum tier magical beast meat. Spit out the phoenix egg right away. Otherwise, we will kill you for a good meal." The dragons transformed into humans and gave the sleeping bag dragon the middle finger or uttered some venomous words, causing the sleeping bag dragon to revert to the form of a pillow and float toward Watson. The sleeping bag dragon's transformed pillow was golden red at the time, and its feathers were soft. It was giving off a faint warmth. The dragons were not the only ones arguing. The Golden Flash and Charcoal, who were standing next to Watson, were also arguing. "What is the matter, Charcoal? Why do you have a phoenix egg in your possession?" Those eggs were being guarded by Emperor Cluck as if they were treasures. "I wanted to take it, but Emperor Cluck refused to give it to me." "Why would Emperor Cluck give it to you?" "Emperor Cluck didn't give me one. I got one when Mount Creation opened a spatial portal and sent resources to the royal city. The phoenix egg is said to have magical properties. It is possible to awaken one's phoenix bloodline by eating it. It is obvious that Father and the people on Mount Creation can eat it, but why can't magical beasts eat it? Isn't that unjust? Charcoal, you stole the phoenix egg. If Emperor Cluck finds out about it, you will be finished. Can't you just keep it a secret? I did it so Father could choose a better dragon." Emperor Cluck won't hold it against me. Father, I helped you attract more dragons, Charcoal said coquettishly as she hugged Watson's hand. Now, you are going to pat my head to reward me. I hope Father will pat me a little longer. Charcoal, you are too cunning. Did you come up with this method to claim the credit? I will not participate in this. Do you think you are the only one who hid something while transporting the supplies? The Golden Flash snorted. He reached his hand outward, and a magic staff with a diamond luster appeared in his hand. This is the Crystal World Tree Staff. It is a diamond tier weapon. This weapon will be yours if you choose to be Father's pet. That weapon had become entangled in his scales while he was transporting the goods. Geraint and Lubin did not notice it because they were transporting a large number of items. It was handy to use it then. I would like to have it. I would gladly be young Master Watson's pet. A platinum tier dragon in human form approached Watson and hurriedly said that. I arrived first. You should go with me. Another platinum tier dragon squeezed through the crowd. No, I am more powerful than they are. Choose me. Many dragons trailed close behind, refusing to be outdone. They spoke one after the other, their eyes twinkling like stars. If they had not chosen Watson because they did not want to be Watson's pet and because of their dignity, they would have changed their minds at that point. They would be able to eat platinum tier magical beast meat and phoenix eggs if they became Watson's pet. They would also have diamond tier weapons. So what if they end up as a pet? They would not have to worry about food and drink if they became the pet of such a wealthy individual. It was far superior to matching with a poor dragon knight. Was dignity worth that? What was it worth? When the Golden Flash pulled out the diamond tier staff, nearly half of the dragons in the sky transformed into human forms and appeared in front of Watson. No need to fight over it, Golden Flash said, showing off the diamond tier staff in his hand. Father has the right to choose his dragon. I will only give this staff to the chosen one. Oh, I still have a lot of similar weapons. The Golden Flash shook his head. Many diamond tier weapons fell from his sparkling clothes onto the surface of his golden body. There were sabers, swords, shields, and long spears among the weapons. They were all gleaming with a brilliant luster. There had to be 100 of them. It was a spectacular sight. When he slept on Mount Creation, those weapons were usually lodged in his body. After all, dragons were a treasure-hunting species. Furthermore, he enjoyed sleeping on piles of treasure, which resulted in many weapons hidden in his scales. I have 100 diamond tier weapons. This is shocking. If the staff that the Golden Flash had shown did not cause the dragons to go insane, the dragons were finally mad. You have over 100 diamond tier weapons. You are pretty good at hiding, aren't you? Since that is the case, I will no longer conceal it. Charcoal snorted. She opened her mouth and reached for a sharp tooth. A ball of green liquid grew out of the tooth. It had a strong aura of life, making everyone who smelled it shudder. I hid water from the spring of life in the gap between my teeth, and now I want to give it to my father's new pet. Water from the spring of life? Oh, look at the vibrant aura of life that thing emits. That is, without a doubt, water from the spring of life. But isn't that something that can only be found in the Elven Kingdom? The dragons are a powerful species. We would not take it from the Elven Kingdom even if we had the chance. Why would such precious water be on the body of a wild dragon? Why does it matter? We just need to make sure it is water from the spring of life, right? I want to be Watson's pet for the sake of that water. Don't blame me for being impolite if you dare to take it from me. I am a diamond tier dragon, and I said nothing. Why are you so self-assured when you are only a platinum tier dragon? In any case, there is only one requirement to become Watson's pet. At most, we can get into a fight. Are you afraid? If the diamond tier items that the Golden Flash pulled out had caused half of the dragons to go insane, then all of the dragons had gone mad after seeing the water from the spring of life, including those who already had a master. Please accept my apologies, Master. I feel like I need to be with a better master. My dear Master, you deserve a better dragon. Let's say our goodbyes here. The dragons left their masters and approached Watson. Many students frowned and cursed angrily. Julius, you are a human worthy of the dragon race's respect. I might have become your partner if it had not been for Watson. For the time being, please accept my apologies. You should go find a new partner. The purple lightning dragon's body squirmed and transformed into a young man with long purple hair. He gave Julius an apologetic look before flying toward Watson, leaving Julius, who was fuming with rage, behind. Watson, you cretin! Julius's eyes were filled with flames. He clenched his fists tightly. He gritted his teeth so hard that he almost crushed them. It was not easy for him to get the dragon he wanted, but that dragon had fled thanks to Watson. Nothing was more humiliating than that. He had just made fun of Watson for not having a dragon. He felt a burning pain in his cheek that the situation had been reversed. Everyone, back away from Watson right now. I believe you are a strong-willed dragon, Storm Dragon. Watson will not be able to enchant you. As long as you promise not to become Watson's pet, I will use all of my pocket money to buy you food when I return. If you want to go somewhere to play, I will take you there as well, okay? Fire Dragon, we have been together for more than 10 years and have a strong bond. Our relationship will undoubtedly outlast those material possessions. Am I correct? Even the veteran dragon knights became concerned as the dragons surrounded Watson. Some began to play the emotional card, while others wished they could remove all valuable items from their bodies in order to prevent the dragon from changing their masters. Olenna, who was standing next to Fafnir, took a step forward, but Rem pulled her back. Ram asked, Olenna, what are you doing? She had a dangerous look in her eyes. Be Watson's pet. Do not worry, Rem. I am confident of my victory. After all, I am a diamond-tier dragon who also serves as Lady Fafnir's companion. I have a better chance than anyone else here to win it. Rem said, Wait, what? Why do you want to be Watson's pet? You are Lady Fafnir's companion, not a common dragon. Wouldn't it be a disgrace for the dragons if you also became Watson's pet? What is the big deal? Watson even drew water from the spring of life for us. Rem, that is water from the spring of life. You can gain eternal life if you take it. Can you resist the lure of eternal life? Olenna was taken aback. Ram paused, and her face was flushed. She wanted to drink from the spring of life as well, but she could not overcome the obstacle in her heart. In a nutshell, we can't. We are Fafnir's subordinates. We are forbidden to do anything beyond Lady Fafnir's order. It is an affront to Our Lady. Olenna, your willpower is still lacking. Lady Fafnir hasn't said anything yet. It is obvious that she has resisted Watson's temptation. Ram noticed Olenna's strange expression as she spoke seriously. Her expression changed as a result of this. She shifted her gaze to the side. She noticed that Fafnir was staring intently at the water from the spring of life. She did not say anything, but she looked like she was drooling. Looks like Lady Fafnir thinks the same way. Has everyone gone mad? Ram's expression was ugly and a little sad. Everyone had become like that because they had been confronted with the temptation, the water from the spring of life. Where was the dragon's sovereignty? Where was the prestige of being a member of the elite? Just as she was about to say something, the golden flash muttered in the distance, and her words drifted into her ears. It is a shame that there is only water from the spring of life here. No dragon should be able to resist the temptation of a platinum-tier potion created by my master with water from the spring of life, like the blessings of the gods and demons. After all, that potion can transform a person into a platinum-tier angel, and they can also remove the curse of inability to improve one's strength after drinking from the spring of life. Even though I lack the blessings of the gods and demons, I can promise to provide one for the dragon that becomes my father's pet. Could a potion that could turn a person into a platinum-tier angel also completely eliminate the spring of life's side effects? Ram's heart was pounding. She took a deep breath and began walking toward Watson. There is no longer any need to make a decision. I will be your pet. As Lady Fafnir's companion for many years, I am well acquainted with the position of a pet. No one is more qualified for that position than I am. When confronted with the chaotic voices of thousands of dragons, Watson felt a headache and quickly reached out his hand. Please, everyone, keep your voices down. Lady Fafnir has requested that I only choose one dragon. Even though everyone here is very supportive, I must apologize. I will just pick one randomly. Watson pointed casually, his eyes closed. Do not worry, you will be fine. When Watson opened his eyes, he realized his finger was pointing at an old man known as the long-armed dragon, whose hands were dragon heads and whose face was human, and whom he had seen when he first arrived at the dragon lair. I am victorious. Watson had chosen me. Thank you, dragon god, for this good fortune. The elderly man emerged from the crowd, looking around with delight. DMN it, he had chosen long-armed dragon. Obviously, anyone else is superior to him. Among platinum-tier dragons, the long-armed dragons are regarded as the weakest. After all, he only has one arm. Furthermore, he is quite old. He will most likely die soon. Allowing such a man to receive benefits is a waste of time. I would not choose him if I were you. He is proud and has no idea how to contribute to the dragon race. He is also very bothersome. Lady Fafnir would have let him manage the dragon race if it had not been for his brain. No one here would even look at him. The long-armed dragon's expression changed. The happiness on his face faded, and he became hesitant as he said, "Their words make sense. At my age, it is not appropriate for me to be someone else's pet. Young Master Watson, why don't you go with someone else?" The words of his fellow dragons pricked his heart. He had to go against his will to live within the clan. There is no reason to do that. I can choose whomever I want. Since I chose you, it proves that we are fated. Watson was also aware of the conversations going on around him. Those words only elicited a contemptuous smile from him. Furthermore, strength and age mean nothing to me. Whatever kind of dragon you were in the past, you will be an important companion to me now that you have followed me. I will assist you in becoming stronger. Watson reached out with his hand and took control of the hundreds of diamond-tier weapons that the Golden Flash had dropped to the ground with a wind elemental spell. Fusion system, activate. Congratulations on successfully fusing a large number of diamond-tier weapons, Master. You have obtained a Starlight-tier weapon, the Spear of the Stars. Starlight-tier weapon, the Spear of the Stars. Abilities. This spear is made up of two different colored spears, red and blue. Red spear pierces the enemy's back and causes bleeding, causing irreparable wounds. Yellow spear ignores the enemy's defense and causes direct damage to the enemy. Spear of the Stars releases two spears at the same time, causing a powerful attack that can pierce through the stars. Absolute distance. The spear will not have a distance limit during the throw. Absolute hit. The attack will definitely hit. Additional abilities. Kingdom of Blood. One will bleed to death within the Divine Kingdom. Kingdom of Armor Penetration. Any contact within the Divine Kingdom will cause damage to the enemy. Following Watson's actions, over 100 diamond-tier weapons merged to form a red and yellow spear that flashed with the colors of the stars. The spear's tip glowed, and just looking at it made one's heart go numb. They had pierced through the illusion, and there was a swarm of stars surrounding the two spears. This is a Starlight-tier weapon, long-armed dragon. I have never been stingy with my friends. This weapon is yours now that you have become my companion, and it will not be the only gift I will give you. A Starlight-tier weapon? After hearing Watson's words, everyone in the room looked at it in disbelief. They focused their attention on the two spears. Watson had created a Starlight-tier weapon with just a wave of his hands. The Dragon Clan only had some Diamond-tier weapons and not a single Starlight-tier weapon. When they saw the stars revolving around the spears with a terrifying aura that could pierce through everything, they knew that the two spears in front of them were Starlight-tier weapons. That divine artifact contained the power of the gods. Chapter 453. Fusing the Long-Armed Dragon. Thank you, young Master Watson. Thank you, Master. Long-Armed Dragon was overjoyed with Watson's gift. Its gaze was fixed on the two Starlight-tier spears, and it could not move. It also did not take the initiative to seize the two spears. You don't have to be so courteous to me. I told you, I have never been stingy when it comes to my companions. In my opinion, you are not my servant, but rather someone who will soon become my companion. As he spoke, Watson extended his right hand, and a book with a faint luster appeared in his hand. It seemed to hold everything. The book was sealed with golden chains, and when it was opened, the words were revealed to be glowing with starlight. It was the Book of Wisdom, the highest Starlight-tier tool Watson had fused in the Great Library. Long-Armed Dragon, the weapon you obtained will allow you to press forward in the offense. However, simply attacking is insufficient. Now I will give you a second gift to help you with your ability to use the Spear of Stars. This will serve as your shield, protecting you from damage in battle. Watson flipped through the book in his hand as he spoke. Images of dragons emerged from the Book of Wisdom as he flipped it. Those dragons were historical figures whose exploits were either written down or adapted into fairy tales. Many of those present recognized them the moment they appeared. Look at that three-headed black dragon. It resembles the three-headed demonic dragon that the kingdom previously killed. It used to commit evil acts within the kingdom's borders. A Royal Academy student pointed to the top of his head. The massive dragon, which had 3 ferocious heads, cried out in surprise. A dragon that had transformed into a human nearby looked at another dragon made of white bones. That should be the ghostly fire skeleton dragon that caused the calamity of the Tudor dynasty in legends, he said, his eyes burning with ghostly fire. An ancient necromancer was said to have created that dragon. It was a well-known dragon from the Tudor dynasty. I did not expect it to show up here. Is it a magical projection or are we hallucinating? Everyone looked up at the dozen or so dragons that appeared above their heads. They were unsure whether what they saw in front of them was a real dragon or an illusion for a brief moment. Watson had already extended his right hand toward the dragons in the sky, much to everyone's surprise. Fusion system, activate. Congratulations, Master, on successfully fusing so many dragons. You have obtained a Starlight Tier God-armed dragon. Following the sound of the system notification, the dragon phantom above Watson's head dissipated and transformed into a distorted light of various colors, quickly covering the body of the long-armed dragon not far away. The long-armed dragon, which had only 2 arms in the shape of a dragon's head and looked almost identical to the old man before the light covered it, changed. His arms abruptly separated from his original position. His initial human-shaped body melted quickly, and scales sprouted from the light. His old face also transformed into the head of a massive dragon, converting him from a human to a dragon in an instant. The long-armed dragon's body continued to expand after transforming into a dragon, from the size of an ordinary person to a length of several hundred meters. Many of the dragons and students were taken aback by the scene. The transformation process took only a few seconds. The long-armed dragon's shape had already appeared in front of everyone at that point after the transformation. The first was a colossal dragon with a golden body and a beard-like mane around its mouth. The giant golden dragon's wings were 500 meters long, and it had 9 long horns of varying lengths on its head. However, those were not the strangest things. The most unusual feature was a massive black hole on the dragon's left and right sides that connected to an unknown space. There were 100-meter-long blue and red arms outside the black hole. It was unknown what the arms were made of, but they were wrapped in a blue and red phantom image. They resembled the arms of the previous dragon, but they were far more powerful than the dragon heads that were used to make the arms. Those 2 thick arms resembled the hands of a descended god from the divine realm. Perhaps if those 2 arms waved lightly, they could even destroy a small mountain. Peak Diamond Tier Dragon. God Arm Dragon. Abilities. Giant God's Arm. By controlling the God's arm, it can cause large-scale damage. The arm has a hardness comparable to a Starlight Tier weapon. It can be divided into 2 forms, red and blue, absolute growth. The ability contained in the blue arm can increase its size by countless times. The growth rate is related to one's energy. After the growth, one's strength and defense will be strengthened, and absolute strength, the power contained in the red arm, has the strongest force in the world. Additional abilities. Divine Kingdom of Great Strength. Release the Divine Kingdom formed by countless arms. The great power will crush enemies within the Divine Kingdom. Giant God Weapon. The combination of red and blue arms can create an unlimited power weapon. Watson nodded in satisfaction as the information appeared in his eyes after the long-armed dragon evolved. It is a little better than I expected to be able to advance to the peak of the diamond level. It should be called the long-armed dragon god, not only the god-armed dragon. It already has the strength to compete with the Dragon King. Quote, due to the characteristics of its race, the dragon race had strength comparable to the Starlight Tier of other races at the peak of the Diamond Tier. In other words, even though the God-armed dragon had reached the peak of Diamond Tier, it was not inferior to a true god. God-armed dragon, this is the last of my gifts. Are you pleased with it? I am very pleased, Master. When confronted with Watson's question, the God-armed dragon's massive body shrank quickly and returned to its human form. The God-armed dragon's human appearance had changed dramatically from its previous appearance at that point. Even though he still had an old man's face, he had aged significantly. His hair had also turned a gleaming silver-gray color. Most notably, he had human arms. Above his human arms, on the other hand, were 2 illusory little hands made of energy, one red and one blue. They appeared to be very magical. It is great that you are happy. Oh, I see. I have not asked your name, God-armed dragon, Watson said. Dragons, in addition to the name of their species, had their own names. Generally speaking, dragons used to call each other by their species. They would only use their names when they were close or had more than one dragon species that were the same. Watson's previous dragons had all been fused with wild magical beasts, so he needed to name them. He could skip the naming process because the dragon in front of him had belonged to the dragon race. My name is Sebastian, Master. The god-armed dragon bowed and replied respectfully to Watson. Sebastian sounds like a butler's name. You will be my butler from now on. You are responsible for looking after my daily needs and completing the tasks I assigned to you. Of course, Master. The expressions of the surrounding dragons and students became increasingly shocked as Watson spoke to Sebastian. What did Watson do? Not only did he create the 2 starlight tier spears, but he also summoned a swarm of dragons and allowed them to transform into light to cover the armed dragon's body. The long-armed dragon changed after being covered by the light. I recall that the long-armed dragon was originally only platinum tier, but it now gives me a sense of oppression that I only feel when confronted by dragon kings like Fafnir. Can Watson help the dragons evolve? The dragons were even more surprised than the students. If seeing Watson choose the long-armed dragon had made them envious, they were clearly regretting it after that. They would not have rejected the rewards mentioned by the golden flash and charcoal if they had known Watson could help them evolve. The fact that they could evolve was enough to convince them to be Watson's pet. They could not say anything then because it was too late. Lady Fafnir, the dragon selection process is done. May I leave now? There was complete silence at the scene. There were not many people who spoke, but there were massive waves of emotion coursing through everyone's hearts. Watson was the first to break the silence. Fafnir, clearly taken aback by his words, regained her composure and looked him in the eyes. Indeed, the Dragon Knight's recruitment process is now completed. King Landhar III requires the services of 90 recruits. Now, I can't keep you in the dragon lair indefinitely. It is time to say goodbye. Fafnir waved her hand as she spoke. Bring your human masters as well as other Royal Academy students back to the royal city. Is it too late, Dragon King, for me to retract my words? I do not want to be led by my master any longer. I would like to be Watson's pet. Me too. Watson is not a dragon knight, despite the dragon clan's rule that a dragon can only be paired with a dragon knight. Is being his pet a violation of the rule? I wouldn't have been in such a rush to choose a master if I had known that a human named Watson was so monstrous. Who would have known that I'd overlooked? I wish I could go back in time. When the dragons heard Fafnir's words, many dragons in human form sighed and looked up at the sky. Some even pounded their chests, their eyes bloodshot. The golden flash and charcoal exchanged glances and saw pride in each other's eyes. As one would expect from Father, his methods are still as effective as before, if not more so. Previously, if Father wanted to fuse magical beasts, he had to capture a large number of low-tier magical beasts from the surrounding area and fuse them. Now, he only needs to take out a book to summon whatever he desires from it. That book is extremely useful. When I get the chance, I will also ask Father to summon a few dragons so that I can fuse with them and gain more strength, the golden flash muttered to herself. Charcoal was thinking the same thing. She was preoccupied with something else. Father's new pet appears to be very old and dependable. It is unlikely to compete for Father's favor with the golden flash or me. I will be at ease as long as I can ensure that I am the first in Father's heart among all the magical beasts that have been fused. Do not even think about it. A group of dragons wanted to be Watson's pets? Have you no shame? Even though Watson can't use the dragon fusion, he is still a dragon knight in name. He can't control more than one dragon, Rem said. That was similar to the kingdom's rule stating that non-nobles could only have one wife. Otherwise, they would be committing the heinous crime of bigamy. Each person had their own dragon. That was crucial to the dragons. Why don't we talk to King Landhar III about stripping Watson of his dragon knight status? Watson will not break the rules if he is not a dragon knight. Fafnir interrupted Rem's conversation at a leisurely pace, causing Rem to turn her head in rage. Lady Fafnir, even in these dire circumstances, she considered defending the dragon clan's honor. Fafnir, on the other hand, was looking for loopholes in the rules. Was she still a Dragon King? Fafnir coughed in response to her angry stare, and her expression became solemn. Rem is correct. The Dragon Clan and the kingdom have had an agreement since ancient times. You will not have a chance because Watson has chosen Long-Armed Dragon as his companion. Fafnir's words shattered the dragon's last shred of hope, causing them to sigh one after the other. Thank you for your assistance in the Dragon Knight's recruitment, Lady Fafnir. We shall leave now because we have classes later. Unlike the dragons, the students' lips twitched after Fafnir finished speaking. They approached their dragons, either with incentives or with harsh attitudes, ready to take those dragons away. What a farce! They just witnessed Watson's ability to upgrade his weapon and dragon's capabilities. It was already a harsh surprise. No dragons would be willing to accompany them if they did not leave then. The dragons reluctantly lifted them and began to fly away, much to the chagrin of many Royal Academy students. Have you heard what the Dragon King said, Purple Lightning Dragon? Even if you don't want me to be your master, you can't be Watson's pet now. Come with me. I can assure you that in my hands, you will achieve results comparable to Watson's. Julius walked over to the Purple Lightning Dragon's side and extended his right hand. The Purple Lightning Dragon paused for a moment before turning his head to face Watson. Finally, he sighed, and his body expanded gradually. He transformed from a purple-haired adolescent to a dragon and said, "That appears to be the only option. Although I am now deeply regretful, there is no better way. Regarding what you said about being able to obtain achievements comparable to Watson's, don't make such a joke in the future. Even if the things you can give me are 1% better than what Watson could give me, I will still feel a little better." The dragon's words pierced Julius's heart like a sharp arrow. He noticed a gloomy glint in his eyes, and the corners of his mouth curved downward. He was supposed to demonstrate his strength as a senior to the rest of the new students. It was also an excellent opportunity for him to get a new dragon and crush Watson's pride. However, he had become a laughingstock. His dragon was more likely to recognize Watson as its master. They even admitted that they had regretted following him. That was like slapping him in the face. Unlike the other students, he had been mocking Watson since he entered the dragon lair. He had stated that it was impossible for Watson to gain the favor of a dragon and that Watson's appearance was a disgrace. However, reality revealed that Watson was the Dragon Clan's favorite over all others. He had sunk into an abyss of shame and anger because of what he had said in the past. One day, Purple Lightning Dragon, I will make you realize the foolishness of your words. And Watson? Just wait. You embarrassed me in front of so many people. This humiliation will be returned to you tenfold or 100-fold. Julius's eyes were filled with flames. Watson had not only killed his Thunderclawed dragon, but he had also dishonored his position as a Dragon Knight. The hatred between him and Watson had grown to the point where he would not rest until one of them was dead. When they saw Julius's expression, the Dragon Knights around them shook their heads and sighed. They remained silent. They were also embarrassed after being slapped in the face for mocking Watson. They could only hope that Julius would be able to heal his heartache with time. While everyone was thinking about their own things, the dragons had already lifted their masters into the air and flew away. Watson also came to Sebastian's side and signaled for him to transform. Fafnir's eyes flickered at that precise moment. She took the initiative to approach him, pulling his hand. "I need you to wait, Watson, because I have something to tell you." The 10 Dragon Knights in the sky lowered their heads and stared at the scene, perplexed. They noticed Fafnir raise her head and smile as she waved to the sky. "Everyone, I need to talk to Watson, so please take a step back for a moment. Plus, I have a feeling it will be a lengthy conversation. You should return to the royal city first. After I have finished speaking with Watson, I will dispatch a dragon to return him." That doesn't sound like a good idea. A Dragon Knight frowned. They had arrived together, but it seemed like they would not leave together. They had to leave Watson behind. It seemed like it was unfair for Watson. Who knew if the Dragon Clan really wanted to speak to him? Did they have any bad intentions? If they were to lose the kingdom's strongest genius, King Landhar III would punish those who agreed to let Watson stay behind. There is nothing wrong with that. Just leave Watson here. Watson had just demonstrated such a powerful ability, after all. Perhaps he's staying because the Dragon Clan wanted to talk to him about something good. Let's not bother him. I promise, if anything goes wrong, I will be the one to talk to His Majesty." Everyone was still unsure as Julius spoke with a cold gaze while standing on the purple lightning dragon. He wished the dragon clan had some ill will toward Watson. Watson would be better off dying there. While he was filled with rage toward Watson, he was also terrified of Watson's abilities. The man had created a Starlight tier weapon with a wave of his hand. It might even enable the dragons to evolve. How could he possibly defeat such a beast? "Let's go because Vice Captain Julius has said so. It is a good time to inform His Majesty of what had happened here. His Majesty will be overjoyed when he learns that the Dragon Knight Legion has successfully expanded to 100 people." The remaining Dragon Knights did not hesitate when they saw that someone would take the blame. After that, they flew behind Julius, and they made their way toward the capital. In a matter of minutes, the group of people and the dragons had devolved into a smattering of tiny black dots. They were no longer visible. Watson looked at Fafnir, who was holding his arm, after everyone had left the dragon lair. "What do you want to tell me, Lady Fafnir?" "Watson, please grant me the ability to evolve the dragons and create Starlight tier weapons. Please explain how it works." Watson frowned as Fafnir stated the obvious. "I am the only one who can cast that spell, Lady Fafnir. Even if you want it, I can't give it to you. I am afraid I will have to leave if that's all you want to tell me." He had some ideas when Fafnir dismissed everyone but him. After all, he had not only displayed numerous treasures in front of Fafnir, but he had also used the fusion system to fuse those treasures to a higher level. He believed Fafnir saw the value in it and was unwilling to let him go, just as King Landhar III had been when he first saw him use the fusion system. "Watson, you are alone in the dragon lair now that your companions have left. You should comply with Lady Fafnir's request. Otherwise, even if you have a lot of magical abilities, you will end well if 1,000 dragons attack you," Rem said coldly. "Don't worry, Watson. Who said father doesn't have any helpers?" Golden Flash and Charcoal said in response to her words. "Aren't we here? After all, a few thousand dragons is nothing. The Black Moon Knights will be enough to flatten you if father opens the entrance to the Mount Creation and summons the army. The Black Moon Knights are not even required. You will all be gone in an instant if father activates the fusion system and moves his finger." There were only a few thousand dragons. They did not panic when they faced the millions of magical beasts in the misty forest on Mount Creation. Watson would be able to fuse with any number of enemies they encountered. The Golden Flash and Charcoal were both eager for the dragons to clash. That way, they could fuse with the dragons to become stronger, thanks to Watson's system. They were not the only ones. Sebastian, the God-armed dragon, also stepped forward. "Lady Fafnir, please forgive me for not standing by and watching if you want to make a move against my master and take his things by force." Sebastian's red and blue arms, which were floating on his shoulders, grew larger and longer enough to wrap around his body as he spoke. Those two arms grabbed the spear of the stars that Watson had fused. Sebastian looked like the god of war, full of dignity, thanks to his god-like palms and the spear that emitted the star phantoms. "Sebastian, have you forgotten your own race or the kindness shown to you by Lady Fafnir? Just because Watson made you a weapon and helped you improve your strength does not mean you have turned into one. You are a truly ungrateful man." Rem gave him a cold smirk. She continued to chastise Sebastian. Sebastian's face was serene in the face of her reprimand. "I am well aware that I would not be where I am today without the assistance of Lady Fafnir. So, I will not hurt Lady Fafnir, I will just keep her under control. However, if other dragons dare to harm my master, I will not let them off lightly." "Won't hurt me, but keep me under control?" "Sebastian, your tone has changed to one of arrogance. You were only a platinum tier dragon not long ago, but now you can order me around? Who gave you that courage? Did Watson give you the weapon, or are you him?" Fafnir sneered and stretched her arms after hearing Sebastian's words. "It has been a long time since I have exercised my body. It appears that it is time to get some exercise. Dragons always speak with vigor. Let's see if you have the strength to match your arrogant demeanor, Sebastian." "I apologize, Lady Fafnir. Then I am not going to be polite." After a brief moment of silence, Sebastian raised his head and looked at Fafnir with a steady but sharp gaze. Then he took a quick step forward. Boom! The two massive arms beside Sebastian did not take the spear as he took a step forward. Instead, They gripped the spear and punched Fafnir in the face. Giant god's arm. Absolute strength. The powerful force shattered the ground between Sebastian and Fafnir with a loud bang. Cracks spread along the ring-shaped mountain range and reached the lowest point. That punch appeared to be capable of tearing a hole through the entire dragon lair. Huge boulders whizzed around Sebastian. He noticed Fafnir did not flee in the midst of the dust and rocks. She was still close to his body. His pure golden pupils reflected his appearance, causing her to become dazed for a brief moment. He had yet to see his appearance after being upgraded to the god-armed dragon via Watson's fusion. If he was once an 80 to 90-year-old man, he was much younger then. He appeared to be between the ages of 50 and 60. That youthful appearance brought back memories for him. Sebastian was not born in the dragon lair but rather in the wild. His parents were a platinum-tier frost dragon and a platinum-tier fire dragon. He remembered his parents looking at him with scorn when he was a baby. This child has 2 dragon heads and inherited our bloodline, but he has no body at all. He is a weirdo. This child will not live long. It is better to get rid of him. We still have a lot of time. We can still raise a new dual-attribute dragon that will inherit all of our strengths. Sebastian was abandoned in the wilderness during such a conversation. He thought he was going to die because he did not have a body. It was more accurate to say that his body was born before it fully developed. That gave him the appearance of 2 long dragon heads connected by a chain around his neck. His small body was insufficient to support the nutrition required by his large dragon head, and if he wanted to eat, he lacked sharp claws with which to hunt. Thankfully, there was always a way. Soon after, he was picked up by a kind-hearted human farmer who went hunting in the mountains. He fed him every day until he became an adult. When he grew up, he could transform into a dozens-meter-long dragon to assist the farmer in his hunt. More than 10 years passed in that manner. He learned many human life skills and knowledge, and he considered the farmer to be his father. Finally, a group of people calling themselves the Knights of the Third Prince arrived in the village where the farmer lived one day. They promised to exterminate the evil dragons. The reason for that was the recent livestock thefts in the village, and everyone assumed it was the monster's fault. The farmer was tragically killed by that group. Sebastian managed to flee with all his might. After escaping, he ran into Fafnir while wandering around. Fafnir took him to the dragon lair. The other dragons were unwelcoming because of his weak ability and deformed body. Only Fafnir was unconcerned about it. Instead, he managed with the help of his sharp mind, which he honed in human society. He remembered what Fafnir had said to him when he had just brought him to the dragon laid. Many dragons left the safety of discipline to look for a relationship outside the lair, which resulted in many deformed younglings. You pity yourself because you are deformed. However, you're mistaken. Those who are pitiful in the world are those who feel sorry for themselves. Come with me if you want to prove your worth. Fafnir's words had given him a ray of hope, allowing him to persevere until he was bored. As a result, he was eternally grateful to Fafnir. That was also why he had to fight Fafnir. It was not because he would instinctively listen to Watson after the young man used the system to fuse him, nor was it because he had gone insane as a result of the benefits Watson had given him. He did it because he wanted Fafnir to understand. Even if a poor person did not feel sorry for himself, the environment in which he lived had not improved. It was not enough for him to change his mind and become stronger. Others would continue to mock him. It was more important to change others in the world than to change oneself. This is what I have learned all these years in the dragon lair. You have taught me not to be afraid of other people's gazes, but my young master Watson has eliminated other people's gazes. That was the primary reason Sebastian wished to fight for Watson. If Fafnir's words had prolonged his life, Watson's actions had given him a new life. Sebastian was no longer the dragon that his parents had abandoned and that his fellow dragons despised. He was strong enough to stand up to the Dragon King. Is that right? That is your realization, Sebastian. I can sense it. Fafnir, who was close to Sebastian, suddenly narrowed her golden pupils. The corners of her mouth raised slightly, forming a smile. Then, on her smooth brow, a crack appeared, revealing a round, spinning eye. The eye was made entirely of flames. In the name of Fafnir, the sun's flame has descended. The third spinning eye floated out from between Fafnir's brows, enlarging and quickly transforming into a massive sun above Fafnir's head. The sun covered the entire sky above the dragon lair in an instant. A sun that had been magnified thousands of times was descending at breakneck speed. Without a doubt, the entire lair would be destroyed if the sun went down. Many of the dragons were terrified as they looked up at the sky. Even the golden flashes and charcoal's faces were flushed. They were taken aback by Fafnir's release of the Dragon King's power and hid behind Watson. Only Watson remained calm in the face of the sun above his head. Giant god weapon. An old voice rang out just as the sun was about to set into the dragon lair. Immediately after that, a massive spiral-shaped spear intertwined with red and blue stretched across the ground and sky in front of the giant sun. The enormous pillar that seemed to support the sky and the ground collapsed violently, severing the sun in two. In front of the giant spear, Fafnir's summoned giant sun was not even half its size. Not only was the sun gone, but the collapse of the giant pillar split the dragon lair in half. The two semicircular peaks on the left and right shook and pulled away from each other. Sebastian's red and blue arms were dim amid the incredible shaking. They were still clutching the spear that had pierced the stars. The two long spears were against Fafnir's smooth neck. Meanwhile, the eyeball between Fafnir's brows had been retracted, and the flames had vanished. He extended his hands. Sebastian, I give up. You appear to have earned the right to be proud now. Your strength is already at the Dragon King's level. It is especially powerful, even among the Dragon Kings. But I would like to ask you a question. Why didn't you use the weapon Watson gave you? If you had used it, there was a good chance I would have been injured. I want Lady Fafnir to understand my true strength. Stop this pointless battle. It will be useless if I use my weapon, Sebastian said while staring at Fafnir. Lady Fafnir, please swear not to attack my master. Then I will let you go. Very well, I swear I am not going to attack Watson. I have no intention of attacking Watson. I just want to put your strength to the test and see what Watson did to you. I realized, based on your current performance, that Watson's improvement is far beyond my wildest dreams. In that case, I only have one option. Fafnir spoke under Sebastian's threat. Cracks appeared on her body, and she became fragmented. She transformed into a swarm of scattered flames and flew from Sebastian's clutches. She regrouped nearby, under Sebastian's surprised gaze, and reverted to her original appearance. Watson, I would like you to join the Dragon Clan. What do you mean, Lady Fafnir? I don't get it. Watson shook his head. What I mean is quite simple. I hope you can abandon your human identity in the Holy Dragon Kingdom and join the Dragon Lair, becoming a member of the Dragon Clan. Except for the Dragon King, all the other dragons will obey your orders, your reward for joining the Dragon Clan. I can ask the other Dragon Kings to make you the Dragon Clan's 9th Dragon King. What do you think? At the time, the Dragon Clan had only 8 Dragon Kings. Watson would become the 9th Dragon King, or the Human Dragon King, for the first time in history. How can you make Watson the Dragon King, Lady Fafnir? You are kidding, right? Rem had only recovered from the fight between Sebastian and Fafnir. When she heard Fafnir's words, she could not help but exclaim. Do you think I erred in my judgment, Rem? You saw the fight, right? Aside from being technically inferior to me, his strength and speed have already surpassed the average Dragon King. He was able to transform a platinum-tier dragon into a dragon that could compete with me. Would you still object to Watson becoming Dragon King if that power was applied to other dragons, such as you? Rem wanted to refuse right away, but she hesitated. Would she refuse to let Watson become a Dragon King if she had the power of a Dragon King? She was not sure if she would contradict that. The Dragon Clan only had 8 Dragon Kings because the requirements for becoming a Dragon King were highly stringent. They had to be from an exceptionally talented family and also needed to work extremely hard and have a bit of luck. However, based on Watson's actions, it appeared that the long-armed dragon had evolved quite easily. In other words, if Watson was willing, he could raise any dragon to the level of a Dragon King. If he could turn the entire Dragon Clan into Dragon Kings, the Dragon Clan's power would be unfathomable. What do you think, Watson? Do you accept my request? The dragons are the world's most powerful creatures. As long as you work with the Dragon Clan and use your magical abilities to transform all the dragons into Dragon Kings, you will have access to whatever you desire. The kingdom, and possibly the entire world, will be yours. Fafnir extended her arms, and her words were enchanting. Being the so-called most powerful genius in the human kingdom is a terrible waste of your talent. Join the Dragon Clan. I can make you the most powerful Dragon King. I am surprised to learn that the Dragon King, who has mastered fire and metal, also possesses a spiritual hypnosis spell. You used that trick to escape when Sebastian sealed your body, didn't you? Watson spoke slowly, and what he said made Fafnir's face change. The corners of Watson's mouth curled into a playful smile. It is not impossible for me to help the Dragon Clan become stronger if you want me to become the Dragon King, but I have a condition. Chapter 454. The Rise of the Dragon Clan. What are the conditions? Fafnir's eyes twinkled as she heard Watson's words. She had mastered spiritual enchantment, just as Watson had said, in addition to fire and metal magic. She had used that to make Sebastian recall the past for a short period, causing him to be temporarily distracted so that she could flee. My request is simple. The dragons must accept my orders if I were to become the Dragon King. Watson, I can accommodate your request. Once you become the Dragon King, you will be able to dispatch the dragons on your own. No, I mean all dragons must obey my orders, including all Dragon Kings. Not only that, but you must believe in me as fervently as you believe in your dragon god. Once the above two conditions are met, I will be able to help your dragons evolve. Watson extended 2 fingers in front of Fafnir and waved them. Fafnir, relieved by Watson's words, became solemn again when Watson added the conditions. I must follow your orders, and I also must believe in you. Watson, do you really believe that you are God? Rem could not help but grumble. Despite his great power, King Landhar III signed an unequal contract with the Dragon Clan, increasing the number of Dragon Knights from 10 to 100. Watson's power was not even comparable to King Landhar III. How could he, a mere genius, persuade the Dragon Clan to believe in him? Did he want to enslave the Dragon Clan? I do not consider myself to be a god. I am not that proud of myself. After all, the gods might not be able to accomplish what I have accomplished. Watson's tone was calm, but his words instilled confidence in all the dragons. How arrogant was he? If Watson had said those words earlier, the dragons would have burst out laughing. However, they had seen Watson's various abilities. That is all I ask, Lady Fafnir. If you are unable to make a decision on your own, you may invite the other Dragon Kings. We can talk about it together. Of course, if you reject my proposal, just pretend I never said anything. Watson, before I answer your question, please allow me to ask one of my own. Do the conditions you mentioned apply to you or the Holy Dragon Kingdom? Watson's words were proud, but Fafnir did not dismiss them outright. Instead, she went into deep thought. Lady Fafnir, that is an excellent question. This treaty only serves me. In other words, your relationship with the Holy Dragon Kingdom will remain the same after signing the contract. I even hope you will not tell the king about this. Watson, have you considered signing a treaty with the Dragon Clan? It appears that the Holy Dragon Kingdom has a cunning human king like King Landhar III, and a genius like you, who are not inferior to him in terms of cunningness. In fact, you are better than him. Fafnir paused for a moment with a strange expression before sighing. All right, Watson, I can agree to the 2 conditions you mentioned, signing a contract with the Dragon Clan and obtaining the Dragon Clan's faith. However, I can only guarantee that you will be accepted by my own clan. You will have to persuade the other Dragon Kings and their clans yourself. You do not have to be concerned about that, Lady Fafnir. I am confident in my ability to persuade the other Dragon Kings. It is fine as long as you can summon them. Watson exuded confidence. He had considered signing a contract with the other dragon clans, just as Fafnir had stated. His visit to the dragon lair was intended to forge a relationship with the dragon clans. He would also want to jeopardize the peace between the Dragon Clan and the Holy Dragon Kingdom if he could. Fafnir appeared to be greedy for his ability, and she had forced him to stay. He was purposefully displaying such power in front of Fafnir and the dragons. He deliberately allowed Fafnir to remain. If Fafnir did not take the bait, he would make excuses or do more to force Fafnir to take the bait. Fortunately, Fafnir did not let him down. She even dispatched the Dragon Knights, giving him more room to show off his skills. The biggest problem for dragons is reproduction rate, followed by strength. Since ancient times, no matter what race, There has been a distinction between statuses when strength is not perfectly balanced. Even the dragons are not immune. Strong dragons have complete control over everything, whereas others can only slaughter weaker dragons. All I have to do is change the environment. He could make the weaker dragons stronger by using the fusion system and make the strong dragons even stronger. As a result, many dragons would come to him privately, exchanging treasures for the chance to increase their strength. If those dragons went to Fafnir, they would most certainly not report to him. After a while, if Fafnir's status were jeopardized because there were many dragon kings similar to Sebastian, she would not be able to stop such a situation, even if she wanted to. At the very least, the 90 dragons she had released into the kingdom had witnessed Watson's magical prowess. It would be difficult for Watson to stop them if they wanted to look for Watson to help them become stronger. She could not send help to the kingdom every day to guard them. As a result, Watson's request seemed impolite. On the other hand, Fafnir had to pinch her nose and endure it to maintain her position in the dragon's progression. There was no other option. After all, if she refused Watson's request, some dragons would still go to Watson, causing the entire clan to fall into chaos. She could have agreed to it. She would still be able to receive benefits from Watson. No one knew if she would continue to obey Watson's orders once she had grown stronger. Fafnir did not realize how much Watson would have to pay to use the fusion system if they believed in him. She would not be so upbeat if she knew. However, she had no objections to Watson's proposal for the time being. Watson, you mean the dragons must obey your commands and have faith in you? I understand the former but am unsure about the latter, Fafnir asked Watson after she had made up her mind. It is simple. You only need to read the prayer that I will teach you and pray with the same pious attitude as you do when you pray to the dragon god. Watson cracked a grin. He taught Fafnir a platinum-tier priest's prayer that came from the Einherjar's body. He was afraid that Fafnir would not be able to do it after he told her, so he said, "Remember, you must pray devoutly. Then and only then will it be effective. The more fervently you pray, the more resources I can give you. You will not be able to get anything from me if you cheat." Lady Fafnir, something is clearly wrong with that prayer. Let me give it a shot first. Olenna, who had been standing silently by Rem's side, suddenly walked past Fafnir and came before Watson, revealing a fearless spirit, just as Fafnir was debating whether she should try it or not. "Come on, Watson. Whatever the benefits or whatever the problems, I will help Lady Fafnir bear them." "Olenna, that moron. She is not helping Lady Fafnir. She is trying to take advantage," Rem grumbled to herself. "Since Miss Olenna wanted to try it, let's get started." Watson had a strange expression as well. He said that after looking at Fafnir as if asking for her opinion. Olenna began chanting the incantation according to what Watson had taught her without hesitation. She finished the entire prayer in record time. Then she closed her eyes and half knelt in front of Watson and said, "I, Olenna, am willing to believe in Watson, just as I believe in a god." A bright light flashed across Olenna's body as the sound of the prayer faded. At the same time, Watson felt as if a blue body had appeared in the sky above his soul's chaos elemental magic source. It had transparent wings that rippled like water. It was a long-tailed dragon soul phantom. A large wave of pure faith power was transmitted into Watson's soul, imbuing his body with a tinge of divinity. That is the faith of the dragons. It is not like the faith I grew up with. Watson could not help but mutter in his heart as the sensation of absorbing faith became too comfortable. The dragons were the most powerful of the races he had conquered. Compared to other races, the dragons were born with great strength, and they could also live for a long time. Their faith was so strong that even when they received the blessing of the gods or demons, the Black Moon Knights who had transformed into angels could never compare to them. That was the confidence of a diamond-tier dragon. Watson's faith would be even stronger if he fused replicas of the ancient dragon race that existed in the Book of Wisdom into those dragons, allowing them to transform into dragon kings. It was estimated that the power of his abundant faith would be sufficient to build 10 more divine kingdoms and raise his tier to the peak of diamond tier. Watson used his soul to reach the chaos elemental magic source. His soul transferred a large number of memories to Olenna's soul projection. Whoosh! Olenna opened her eyes suddenly, and a ray of light flashed in her blue eyes. Her body exuded a powerful aura, prompting her to extend her right hand subconsciously. A divine kingdom flashing with 7-colored light appeared in the shape of a giant sword in her hand. The divine kingdom dashed into the darkness. It looked a lot like the giant weapon Sebastian had just used. That is a move known as the divine kingdom of the sword. This should be Sword St. Reed's ultimate skill. Did I really master it? Not only do I know about the divine kingdom of the sword, but I also know a lot about potions. Olenna stretched out her other hand as she spoke, and a pitch-black sword appeared in her other hand. A pitch-black viscous liquid flowed outside the divine kingdom of the sword, clinging to it like a spider web. When the pitch-black liquid came into contact with the ground, it immediately corroded it into pits, causing green smoke to rise. There are still many things I can't put into words. It appears to be archers and priests' abilities, including many spells. 1,000 different kinds of spells. Aside from the fire elemental spells that I am proficient in, I can now cast another 5 elements. It turns out that faith in Watson can grow stronger over time. This is a feeling I never had when I believed in the dragon god. Olenna was taken aback and could not help but exclaim. Behind her, the earth, fire, water, and dark elements all lit up, transforming into glowing balls of light with diamond-tier power. Fafnir and Rem were taken aback by the scene. Fafnir was the first to notice what was going on. It appears that believing in Watson can get me more power. Please allow me to put it to the test. The dragons worshipped the dragon god. They would never hold any other beliefs. That was not due to the dragon's firm opinion but rather to the dragon's noble and powerful nature. Other gods found it difficult to persuade them, except for the dragon god, also a dragon. That point, however, was broken in front of Watson. There was no doubt that they were noble dragons, but Watson had overburdened them. Wait a minute, Lady Fafnir. It could very well be a trap to entice you to take the bait. I will do it on your behalf, as your considerate subordinate. Let's see if Watson's ability is genuine. Rem had already spoken before Fafnir walked in front of Watson. Her words made Fafnir feel odd. Olenna had said the same thing, but Rem still repeated them, implying that she also wanted to reap the benefits. After all, they were her family members who had followed her for a long time. Fafnir nodded and said nothing else. All right, Rem, you can assist me. Watson, I am not like Orina, who might not have noticed it if you used some tricks to deceive us. However, I will definitely see it. So, I advise you not to play tricks. Utilize all of your skills and let me know what tier you can raise me to. Rem spoke righteously as if she did not have selfish reasons for doing that. It was all for Fafnir's sake. Watson nodded in response to those words. All right, then, let us do as Miss Rem wishes. The words flashed on the Book of Wisdom as he summoned it. Since he had seen something similar before, the words formed a huge dragon phantom in the air. Rem knew what Watson was going to do, so she kept her excitement in check and knelt on one knee, praying as Watson had taught her. Watson activated the fusion system at that moment, and more than 10 dragon phantoms transformed into light, covering Rem's body. Congratulations, Master, on fusing with so many dragons. You have obtained a Peak Diamond Tier Divine Flower Dragon. Peak Diamond Tier Dragon. Divine Flower Dragon. Abilities. Absolute Parasitism, the ability to release spores with life force, parasitize into other people's bodies, absorbing energy and controlling enemies. Divine Flower Cannon, the ability to use energy from the burning pollen to release a large-scale impact. Those hit by the cannonball will be poisoned by the pollen. Absolute Growth. As long as energy is sufficient, you can freely control the growth of trees and allow any plant to grow on your body. Absolute Charm. Able to make enemies obey your commands. Hallucinatory Dreams. Able to create a reality-like illusion that can trap enemies. Additional abilities. Kingdom of Flowers creates a kingdom of flowers. Each flower has the ability to create illusions and explosions. 4 Seasons Mastery. Has the ability to control the seasonal changes of certain areas. Watson's face paled after the fusion as he wiped the sweat from his brow. Not bad, another Peak Diamond Tier Dragon on par with the Dragon King. I have also gained Miss Rem's trust. Rem was born a Flower Fairy Dragon, a Diamond Tier Dragon clan. When Rem evolved into a Divine Flower Dragon, it appeared that she had only gone from the Diamond Tier to Peak Diamond Tier. However, there was a significant difference in the quality. Originally, the Flower Fairy Dragon could only evolve into a Diamond Tier Dragon. On the other hand, Rem had the chance to become a Starlight tier dragon or even higher. Rem, how are you feeling? Do you feel uneasy? Fafnir asked after Watson fused Rem. She could tell Rem was different than before. Even though the previous Rem was also lovely and had long pink wavy hair, she was adorable. However, a petal-shaped mark appeared between Rem's brows at that precise moment. Her entire body emitted a bright divine radiance, which made her not dare to look at her for an extended period. Lady Fafnir, I have a feeling Olenna is not lying. I am feeling fantastic right now. Not only did I gain a lot of knowledge, but my level has also increased. Rem kept his excitement at bay as she spoke. Colorful pollen appeared on her skin, revolving around her and transforming into a layer of gauze. A decadent fragrance emitted from her body. The dragons that smelled it could not help but raise their heads. Their expressions became ecstatic. Even the dragon lair's trees and flowers began to flourish. Since the verification went smoothly, it is my turn now. Fafnir could not help but be moved by Rem's physical changes. She walked toward Watson, reaching out her hand to tidy her clothes. Olenna, who had just prayed to Watson, stood up from the ground at that precise moment. Watson, you passed your knowledge to me, but you did not help me raise my level, she said as she approached Watson and grabbed his arm. Don't tell me I'm no better than Rem. I was the first to put my faith in you, and I chose to let you build your strength. Isn't it unfair that you only did it for Rem? Very well, Miss Olenna. I will also help you in increasing your strength. Olenna's constant advances were too much for Watson to bear. He summoned a dragon clone and activated the Book of Wisdom to increase Olenna's level. Congratulations, Master, for fusing so many dragons and obtaining a Peak Diamond Tier Sea Heart Flame Divine Dragon. Peak Diamond Tier Dragon. Sea Heart Flame Divine Dragon. Abilities. Heart of the Sea, able to control seawater to seal and crush humans. Absolute Combustion, able to burn in water. Once it burns, it will not be extinguished. Absolute Humidity, able to summon waves to cause large-scale damage. Ice and Fire Dual Storms, able to release both water and firestorms at the same time, causing explosive damage. Sea Chains, able to summon seawater to form chains to control enemies. Glass Body, able to liquefy one's body and be immune to all physical damage. Additional abilities. The Burning Sea Kingdom, made up of fire and seawater. Enemies who enter the kingdom will suffer double torture. The Stream of Consciousness, able to store one's memories and thoughts in the cells of the body. As long as one survives, none of the cells will die. Olenna's body changed as a result of the fusion. Her long blue hair, for starters, gave the impression of swaying waves. Her skin became much more translucent than before. Bubbles could be seen gradually rising beneath her skin as if there was an ocean beneath her skin. Phew, I am finally done. Watson appeared even more tired after fusing with Olenna. His lips were cracked and dry. Fafnir could no longer keep it together at that point. Watson, my family members have all tested, and there are no problems, she said as she approached Watson. Now it's my turn. Fafnir could not help but fantasize because her family members had all risen to the level of a Peak Diamond Tier Dragon King like her with Watson's help. What level would she reach with Watson's assistance? Will she reach the Starlight tier and become a being comparable to the Dragon God? I'm sorry, Lady Fafnir. Just now, I was about to use up all the energy in my body because of Miss Olenna and the others. I can't help you increase your strength today. I can only do it the next time. Watson, what did you say? Fafnir widened her eyes as if she could not believe it. Watson could only repeat what he had just said. He did not need to use energy to use the fusion system, but he would need to expend a large amount of his energy to get the dragon clones. Upgrading the three-headed dragon to a dragon king would expend all the energy in his body. If he wanted to upgrade Fafnir, who was originally the dragon king, he would need to use even more energy. Watson, there is a limit to how much strength you can give the dragons. Why didn't you say so earlier? Seeing how easily you turned Sebastian into a dragon comparable to a dragon king, I thought there was no limit to how much strength you can give us. Rem snorted. Watson could only smile wryly. Miss Rem, do you think such a thing is possible? Anyone who wants power has to pay the price. There's no free lunch in this world. Don't you think it would be too wonderful if we could turn all the dragons into dragon kings so easily? Watson, that's what you meant when you wanted to sign the contract with us in the beginning. But since you helped me to become a dragon king, I won't pursue the matter anymore. I did not expect that you would lose your power after helping me and Olenna to become stronger. If I had known earlier, I would not have let you help Olenna. Instead, I would have let Lady Fafnir become stronger. Rem. What are you talking about? Watson helped me first. If someone has to give up their place, then it must be you. You took Lady Fafnir's chance to become stronger today. Olenna retorted without showing any weakness. Both of you, stop arguing. You are both responsible for this situation. If I didn't allow you to try it first, how would I lose my turn? I want to strangle you two to your deaths. Lady Fafnir, don't. Help. It's my fault. Fafnir's face was full of resentment as she spoke fiercely. She went behind Rem and Olenna and grabbed the two girls with each hand, causing them to beg for mercy in panic. Lady Fafnir, I can't increase your strength because I am exhausted. However, if you can provide me with a potion to recover my strength, I can continue to help you increase your strength. Watson was afraid that Fafnir would use too much strength and break the necks of the two dragons that he had fused. It would have been a terrible loss. Why didn't you say so earlier? There aren't many other things in the dragon lair, but we have many treasures. I'll go and find them for you now. Fafnir threw Rem and Olenna onto the ground, turned around, and disappeared. In a short while, Fafnir returned with a large number of medicinal herbs in her hands. These herbs are treasures that grow in the lair. Some of them were collected by the dragons. Most of them are gold tier herbs, and a small number of them are platinum tier. Do you think they are enough? Watson at the herbs. There were at least hundreds of herbs on the ground. He was familiar with some of them, such as the 7 treasures glazed ginseng, and some of them he had never seen before. However, the Einherjar's body contained a large amount of knowledge regarding herbs. In addition to the memories left behind by the god of poison, he understood what those herbs were for. Lady Fafnir, that herb is the heart of the demonic deep-sea dragon that I painstakingly collected. That is a platinum tier herb. Why did you bring it here? Olenna glanced at the herb and suddenly saw a heart the size of a house. There were pitch-black blood vessels wrapped around it. The heart, which had been dug out from a dragon's body, was still beating. It began to wail in pain. That medicinal herb is the divine blood sunflower that I collected. It is also a platinum tier medicinal herb. It is said that the sunflower grew 10,000 years ago and has been tainted with the blood of mythical creatures. Therefore, it can bloom indefinitely. It is the main ingredient that I use to make beauty potions. I am usually reluctant to use it. Rem also recognized some of her medicinal herbs, causing her to show a pained expression. You just became stronger with Watson's help. Now that Watson needs to recover, you should not be stingy. This is how we should treat our guests, right? Fafnir said with a fake smile. At least remove the divine blood sunflower. That flower is only useful for beauty. It won't have any effect on Watson's recovery, Rem muttered softly. After noticing Fafnir's cold glare, she decided to keep quiet. Thank you, Lady Fafnir. These medicinal herbs are enough for me to recover my strength. I can also develop a potion that can help the dragon clan improve their reproduction rate. Watson nodded at Fafnir and reached to activate the fusion system on the medicinal herbs in front of him. Congratulations, Master, for fusing a large number of medicinal herbs. You have obtained a diamond tier potion, super reproductive potion. Congratulations, Master, for fusing a large number of medicinal herbs. You have obtained a diamond tier potion, super vitality recovery potion. Diamond tier potion. Super reproductive potion. Effect. Upon consumption, the reproductive ability will increase by 1,000 times. At the same time, the offspring will inherit part of their parents' abilities and possess diamond tier strength. Additional effect. It can also be used when mixed with water. The effect will be reduced by 100 times. Diamond tier potion. Super vitality recovery potion. Effect. After consumption, the energy in the body will be fully recovered and maintained in a full state for an entire day. It is effective against elites below the Starlight tier. Following the fusion, 2 types of potions appeared in Watson's hands. One was a dark green potion that was filled with the aura of life. Balls of light in the shape of tadpoles moved in the potion, like little elves that symbolized life. The other potion was also dark green, but it was slightly different. The potion was full of bubbles and looked like a volcano erupting. It looked powerful, and one could see the color of blood in it. Watson, what are those in your hands? As Watson waved his hand, the potion on the ground disappeared and turned into two similar but completely different potions. That is the reproduction potion that I promised you. It can be mixed into water, allowing the dragons to increase their reproductive ability by 10 times after taking it. It also allows the offspring to have more powerful strength. If you drink the potion as is, it can increase your reproductive ability by 1,000 times. At the same time, your offspring will be diamond tier. Watson handed the first potion to Fafnir as he looked at her. As for how to use that potion, that will depend on you. As for the second potion, it's a recovery potion. As long as I drink, my strength will remain in a full state. In other words, my strength will remain full for an entire day. As long as I'm fast enough, it's not impossible for me to raise the strength of all the dragons here. What, Watson, aren't the effects of the potions you created too strong? What level are these potions? They're both diamond tier potions. Diamond tier, Fafnir gasped. She thought she had forced Watson into signing a treaty with her. However, after seeing Olenna and Rem become stronger, she was shaken, especially when she saw the potions. The medicinal herbs that she had brought were only a fraction of her collection, and there were thousands of dragons there. Usually, those medicinal herbs could only be used by dragons like Rem to make cosmetic potions and other trash, but those medicinal herbs could play a real role in Watson's hands. A potion that could allow a diamond tier elite to maintain their energy all day long, allowing them to release attacks for a day continuously. What kind of concept was that? Watson's reproductive potion was already very heaven-defying. It could increase their reproduction rate by 1,000 times. If a dragon could only give birth to a youngling in 100 years, there would be 1,000 dragon younglings after consuming that potion. Furthermore, those younglings would have diamond tier abilities. What kind of concept was that? The two potions that Watson had developed were even more attractive to Fafnir than directly increasing the strength of her fellow dragons. They could ensure the dragon clan's future with those two potions. They would be even more powerful if Watson had access to more medicinal herbs. It was simply unimaginable. After visiting the Holy Dragon Kingdom, Fafnir had always been shocked by the powerful strength displayed by the Holy Dragon Kingdom. The sudden rise of the human kingdom had worried her. However, she realized that she did not need to worry at all. The reason the Holy Dragon Kingdom could become so powerful was not because of King Landhar III but because of Watson. Watson was a genius who could change a kingdom, or even the entire world, by himself. At that moment, Fafnir firmly believed that. She took a deep breath and suppressed the excitement in her heart. Fafnir said, "Watson, that fertility potion, I'll try it on the dragons later. Right now, there are pregnant dragons in the lair. As for the other potion that you've developed, you can use it. Then, you can raise the strength of all the dragons in the lair." No problem. So, Watson took the potion and quickly recovered all his strength. He began to fuse and transform every dragon in the dragon lair. After a short while, the entire dragon lair was in an uproar. I've advanced to the peak of the diamond tier. Originally, I was only a platinum tier dragon, but now, I have the strength of a dragon king. Don't shout. Who here doesn't have the strength of a dragon king? It's a pity some of us had left with the dragon knights. If they knew that we had advanced to a level comparable to the dragon kings, they would probably bang their heads against the wall in regret. Well, it's their fault for not having a vision. Dragon Knight of the Holy Dragon Kingdom? They are nothing compared to young Master Watson. When young Master Watson arrived, I noticed that he was different from the others. Although he looks like a human, he is clearly a higher tier life form completely different from humans. It is not too bad that we didn't believe in him. Keep bragging. If you could tell that young Master Watson is extraordinary the first time you met him, you would have already gone up and fussed over him. However, I do agree with one of your points. Young Master Watson is different from other ordinary humans, indeed. How could ordinary humans have the ability to turn a platinum tier dragon into a dragon king? The lair was filled with compliments and praises for Watson. Regardless of whether it was because they instinctively treated Watson as their master after the fusion or because they wanted to protect the dignity of the dragon race, Watson had become an existence comparable to a god in the eyes of the dragons at that moment. While the dragons praised Watson, he was standing on the rock wall at the cave entrance. Inside the cave, there was a dragon. Its entire body was red. The dragon's belly looked a little swollen, and it was lying lazily on the ground. It looked like it had been pregnant for a long time. Besides the golden flash and charcoal, Fafnir was also standing with Watson. At that moment, Fafnir, the golden flash, and charcoal were all fused by Watson with the ancient dragon lifeforms copied from the Book of Wisdom. The golden flash and charcoal had evolved into the diamond star dragon and the death omen star dragon, respectively. They had become peak diamond tier dragons with strength comparable to a dragon king. Meanwhile, Fafnir had also completed her evolution. Originally, Fafnir was a peak diamond tier fire dragon. After the fusion, her strength had evolved to starlight tier, becoming the sun divine dragon. At that moment, Fafnir was already almost a dragon god. After the fusion, the light emitted from Fafnir's body had even suppressed the sun in the sky, turning the entire dragon lair into ashes. Fortunately, Fafnir had quickly suppressed the power in her body, containing it to the peak of the diamond tier. That was why the lair was not destroyed in an instant. At the same time, after Fafnir had upgraded to starlight tier, a repulsive force suddenly emerged as if it wanted to expel Fafnir out of the world. Fortunately, Watson had managed to react in time. He separated a poison that could weaken his strength and injected it into Fafnir's body. Only then did the repulsive feeling disappear. However, according to Fafnir, that was only temporary. She knew that she did not have much time left in the world. It would not have been more than 10 years or even shorter. 10 years. That was a very short time for a dragon like Fafnir. After witnessing the Fafnir's evolution to starlight tier, Watson finally understood why ancient starlight tier elites would tear the world apart in battle. At the same time, he also understood why the world would reject starlight tier elites. They were too powerful. With a single move, they could break through the world's barrier. The world only wanted to protect itself out of instinct. Unless they were like Seti, who had taken over someone else's body, or Nia, who was the reincarnation of the child of God with a lower-level body, they would not be able to stand in that world. Watson had always upgraded buildings or items to starlight tier. That was the first time he had upgraded a person to starlight tier. He realized that the two were completely different. Whether it was items at the peak of the starlight tier or just the starlight tier, they would not be rejected by the world. After all, no matter how powerful an item was, if no one used it, it would not cause damage. However, living beings were different. Even though it was a pity that Fafnir would have to leave that world in 10 years, it was enough for her. Understanding the situation with Fafnir's upgrade to starlight tier will be of great help to me when I upgrade to starlight tier in the future, Watson muttered to himself. Then, he looked at the pregnant dragon on the ground in the cave. However, I will need at least a few years to advance to starlight tier. The most important thing now is to give that dragon a potion that can increase her reproductive ability and see the effect.